One. We're going to get started in just a minute. Thank you so much for coming. It's amazing to see all of you. As we get started, we just ask that you refrain from flash photography during the show and to silence your phones and yada yada, all those things, just to respect those around you. And we will get going in just a minute. Hello again. Hello. So wonderful to be here today. Welcome to our MFA Design for Social Innovation Thesis Show 2024. We appreciate you coming out to the SVA Theater in New York City, and for all the people joining on our live stream to celebrate this hardworking, creative, and brave class of 2024. My name is Mia Osaki. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the chair of MFA Design for Social Innovation at the School of Visual Arts. We're a graduate program focusing on the intersection of social innovation and design, where we explore new ways of thinking, being, and doing to support the health and care and protect our communities and our systems and our planet. We're grateful to be here together. We are bringing our open minds and our hearts to hear diverse perspectives and meaningful stories today. We want to share in this tremendous milestone of this class who have put in so much effort, so many hours, so much of their design capabilities into getting here today. As is our practice as social designers, we start our thesis show with a land acknowledgement as an act of care. We remember that while we're sitting here in the SVA Theater in New York City, this land is the home of the Lenape and other Native people who were here first. We recognize the forced displacement and the environmental destruction of tribal lands and ongoing erasure due to a history of colonialism. We take this opportunity to reflect and think how each of us can think about our past in order for them to inform our present and our future, to speak out against oppressions and not create more harm as we go. As a third-generation Japanese American, I'll share a story of my family, who is one of over 120,000 people of Japanese descent who, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, were sent to incarceration camps during World War II. It's a dark point in American history and one that is still not very well known or well talked about. As May is also Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, in the US, I share this quote by Japanese American writer Karen Ishizuka that reminds us that there is hope in knowing our histories to serve as beacons of the future. At DSI, we honor our interconnected stories and diverse contexts to shift and question dominant narratives and open up space for creative conversations and collaborations with communities and with our natural world. To ensure that for generations to come, that it's a place where everyone can survive and thrive. It can be messy, and it's not easy, but we need to at least be open to this discussion. No one understands the possibilities of creativity and having conversations around social change and innovation better than our keynote speaker today. She is a legend at DSI. Our students will tell you her second-year leadership class is nothing short of transformational. And we will undoubtedly experience this all together today. I'm honored to introduce Karen Proctor, founder of Harbor Workshop, Her significant contributions to private, public educational institutions include the MBA, W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Scholastic, the Guggenheim, Hireability Vermont, and the list of those with whom that she has had impact goes on and on. Karen has held the title of Chief Social Responsibility Administrator and Strategist. Yes, that is possible. This is Karen's 10th year of teaching as our beloved leadership instructor at DSI, a course that shows our next generation of leaders about collaborative adaptive change using their strengths, their stories, and their influence. She was our DSI designer in residence in 2022, where she explored the value of improvisation and social movement. And I've had the firsthand experience of working with Karen and David Proctor, who abundantly bring their truth, their compassion, their love, their care, and their committed vision to this complex and very challenging world that we live in today. I consider myself an example of Karen's leadership, how Karen can support people to find and fulfill their promise and their purpose. Her creative leadership is a gift to the field of social innovation. I've never seen anyone do it quite like Karen. And to these students, you will feel her meaningful lessons well past graduation and into the next phase of your life journey, echoing her words, "We lead ourselves before we lead others." Every year we ask the graduating students, who would you love to hear from? Who do you want to be inspired by at your thesis show? And Karen is always at the top of the list. So we are incredibly lucky to have her here today with us. Please give a warm welcome to Karen Proctor.
That is so intimidating. But it's not intimidating to look out at all of you, because you look fabulous. You look absolutely fabulous. And it is such an honor to be asked to come and speak with you today. I just, many times I've been traveling and not been able to come and be at the thesis show, but when I've been able to be here, it has been thrilling and exciting. So just relax, take a deep breath. Know that we are in anticipation of you, because we're here for you. In every way that we can be here for you, we are. So just know this is about you, this is about your genius, and it's going to be great. So I'm going to warn everyone, this is not a typical keynote speech. And one of the reasons for that is that the team here helped me to co-design it. They didn't want just blah, blah, blah. They wanted key themes. And the first begins with a sense of congratulations. So we honor you and we congratulate you. Why don't you stand? Congratulations, class of 2024, you can sit. This is a celebration of you for the moment, for the day, and what it really means to present your initiatives for positive social change. We celebrate you, we celebrate your work. Today is the day that you put your genius and leadership on display for the world. You wanted to acknowledge that. You also told me that you wanted to give people a sense of your journey here at DSI, the hard work that it took to get to the finish line, to acknowledge the personal and collective sacrifices that you made, the difficult life choices you had to make, and what could be gained by it all. To our guests, welcome. It's an honor to be in front of you. I encourage you to take notice. The social design leaders that you see here today, they're determined, they're persistent, they're resilient people who committed themselves to learning and personal growth which is really difficult to do while you're just trying to get your master's degree. They are part of the solutions that our world wants to see. They are part of the communities that they represent. They are what the world is calling for. You all wanted to remind yourselves and your loved ones and your colleagues a sense of what you know now, not just as masters of social design, but as leaders. Of course, because as you know, I think everything is about leadership. I will say what a remarkable journey you've been on. Like so many others, you started out with a very vague notion of what this DSI thing is all about. What is this 2-year experience going to be like? Now, because you've completed it, you're part of a powerful group of people who have completed the journey. We will be a witness to your innovations, your designs, your discoveries shortly. We will be inspired and we will be amazed. I know it. And in a week or so, once you've recovered from all this, it will just begin to make sense what you've spent the last 2 years of your life doing and learning. So, in thinking about the best way to weave together these various themes, acknowledge a journey, hard work, celebrate, share wisdom, tell a story, what's leadership about, I thought maybe the best way to do this was to be a little bit creative. And so I've decided to invite you all to a great interactive improv. Let's do some mirroring and think about the journey. Look at their faces. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I've actually decided to share a bit of my own story of self, a story that you've heard bits and pieces of over the course of the year, but I'm going to share it with a more refined narrative, with more detail. It's a story that's very fitting because you are part of the story. We have been, since September, in each other's lives. We've shared precious moments of exploration and discovery. You are a manifestation of my call to leadership in so many ways. I've learned so much from you. I hope you've learned a little bit from me. A note to our special guests, you are eavesdropping. This conversation actually began back in September. You see, as I said, these folks have been on quite a journey, and journey is the right word for this. They have been travelers who went on an expedition to explore their deeper selves, their leader selves. They did the hard work, not just of considering theories of leadership, but of interrogating themselves as leaders, their identities, their philosophies, their practices of leaders. They exposed themselves, they refined themselves. We welcome you into this conversation. Glean whatever you will. And like the course and the way that I teach, it may be a little rabbit traily at times, and that's okay. It's a reflecting story. It will bob and it will weave. But what I really hope it does for you in particular is cause a little bit of reflection. And hopefully it'll make sense at the end. So speaking of the end, I'm starting with the end. Just in case you don't remember anything else, remember this. I'm starting with the end in mind, and then I will begin. I don't want you to miss the point of it all. So here are the points. Live intentionally. Design always with intention. Lead with intentionality. And live and lead well. So here we go. My story of self. I think the theories that were started by Marshall Gantz, who is at Harvard, I'm using sort of his methodology to go through this story. My story, in terms of who called me to lead, starts with mother. Geraldine A. Uddybach. She was born in 1931 to a poor southern New Jersey family that wasn't really able or ready to care for her. So she was literally dropped off at the doorstep of the small town caretaker of unwanted children. When she got older, she helped to take care of all the other children that were dropped off at Mrs. Green's door, the children who were fostered there on that small plot farm. She led a very hard life, and she never quite told us how hard it was, There was abuse that occurred in that household with all of those unwanted kids. She didn't give us the details, but my sisters and I saw the emotional scars play out during our childhood. Mother stayed on that farm until she was able to go to college. That was a major, major breakthrough for her. There's a lot of family folklore about how she was able to go to college, but we believe it was because of some benevolent lawyer who saw my mother's genius and who helped her pay to attend Morgan State. Although my mother really loved theater, and I mean really loved theater, and she was beautiful, like she's so beautiful. She should have been an actress and on stage and on film, but that wasn't practical for her age or her era. She was quite dramatic, but she had to take another path. So she became a social worker, and she was a great one. She broke every agency rule that they had as long as she deemed it was in service of her clients. She wanted to ensure their well-being. She wanted to ensure that they got more than just resources and supports that they needed. You see, she didn't just see people, wanted to see people survive the challenges. She actually wanted them to thrive. She wanted people to live full and fruitful lives. My mother knew trauma, and my mother hated to see other people having to live beneath their dignity. Maltreatment, particularly of children, truly angered her. It made her furious, and she channeled that anger, though. She channeled that anger into action. Action mixed with invention, creativity. She designed solutions for her clients. She didn't just counsel them or provide for them access to basic services. No, she wove her love of theater and her professional practice of social work together to start a theater company in the town that we lived in at the time. She founded and was executive director of the Peekskill Drama Workshop, her own theater company, with her full-time job while raising 4 daughters. Little did the company's audiences know that what they were witnessing was really drama therapy. Teens from local high schools, many of whom were my mother's clients, had a place to reimagine their lives. This initiative that my mother designed was designed with intention of providing a positive, creative outlet of expression and healing for young people. She changed the trajectory of so many lives. They were exposed to the magical world of theater and performing arts. They acted, they danced, they toured. They were exposed to possibility. And yep, that's me, like doing the fake sort of cartwheel thing over in the side there. I was a part of it all. You see, my mother modeled for me a care for others that extended way outside of our immediate family. The workshop kids, including those who were clients, were welcome into our home. She provided them with incredible opportunities to discover their own possibilities beyond the social limitations that were placed on them. She modeled that. She led the workshop and her work with intention, not to just do something, not just to do something well, but to transform the work, to transform the field, to transform the lives she came in contact with throughout her career, which lasted more than 40 years. My mother, having grown up in an abusive household, hated abuse of any kind, hated child abuse, hated domestic violence. It angered her to see the cruelty that people often exacted on those they were supposed to love. She turned her anger into action. She broke the rules, the agency confines of social work, to foster healing. She didn't fight every battle. She strategically picked fights that she believed would yield the greatest results that would last. My mother changed things. She used her creativity and she used design, and she wasn't called a social designer, but she was, to make space for trauma to be worked out. She was not constrained by the expected norms of her field. She used all of her authentic self to courageously and intentionally live out her purpose, which was to bring healing and transformation to people who experienced brokenness. My mother became ill early in 1996. Before she passed, I sat by her bedside and I promised her that I would continue her legacy. I would continue to do what she did, to see others and to care for their futures. I would do my best to pour into others' lives as she did, helping them to see their potential, their genius, and hopefully, give them some inspiration, commending them for their courage, and encouraging them not just to pursue their dreams, but to discover their purpose and relentlessly go after it. I kept my promise. In teaching at SVA, in playing with improv and leadership, you are experiencing my mother's legacy. She showed me, as I've tried to show you, that you lead yourself first before you lead others. You lead from your values and your deepest convictions. She called me to leadership with an admonition: don't just see what's wrong with the world. Use your God-given gifts to do something about it. In that way, Geraldine Uddyback, her life lives on. Like a stone skipped across the waters, it caused ripples. But it rippled not just for a fixed period of time, but for generations. No one hears her voice, but they experience the vibration of her once having been present on this earth for a time. Through all of those she touched, that vibration lives on, and it lives on through me. Matthew Proctor Jr., my father-in-law. When I became the public affairs director at KSFO, KYA Radio in San Francisco, I was only 23 years old. I had a lot of responsibility, and I did not have a clue about how to lead the work that I was charged with. I note lead the work because doing the work itself was not the issue. I learned to write and produce public service announcements and a weekly talk show and coordinate community events. All of that was not a problem. But it was my father-in-law, who's there with my daughter, who told me that my responsibility went far beyond just doing the tasks of the role. He was the first person to tell me, Karen, you're a leader, and leading is the real job. He told me that I had to lead with intentionality, to show up as a leader, to have a philosophy and an approach for leading. He sent me lots of resources, and during visits to his home in New Orleans, we spent countless hours at that kitchen table with him coaching me on leadership fundamentals. He was a forward thinker, and he had a forward-thinking perspective on leadership in the 1980s, and it was so useful to me. As a young public affairs director in San Francisco at the time when the AIDS epidemic was running rampant, there was so much to do, and my title didn't give me the positional power to do it. I wanted to make a real difference in that community, but I had to determine what difference was. I needed influence, and I needed to know how to gain it, and my father-in-law showed me that by his example. So at that time, I led the station's public affairs campaigns. I touched on issues ranging from child abuse prevention to disability awareness. But here's the thing. The station was a rock and roll classic station. It was supposed to be lighthearted. We played the Beach Boys and the Beatles, putting on public service announcements about child abuse prevention. The DJs would come to my office and say, "You are bringing us down, sister. We don't want to hear these things. It's a downer to hear these things." And the program director would run him to my office and say, "Karen, your content is depressing our audiences." And then we'd get a call to the station asking for the child abuse hotline. And then a colleague would quietly approach me about her survival story and her concern about not passing on the abusive legacy that she had to her child. And she would bravely go on the air and tell her story. So like my mother, I broke the rules, and I made a difference. And I learned early on, under my father-in-law's tutelage, that leadership wasn't a position or a title, and it didn't matter how old I was. That leaders set the tone for their organizations, and they collaborate with others to bring about the kind of change that's needed, whether that's in a family or an organization or a community or society in general. He challenged me to lead with vision, to lead with commitment, and to lead with passion. My age wasn't the issue. Intentionality was. Did I have a sense of purpose in my work? Was my work aligned with my values? Did I care more about the appeasement of high-paid radio DJs? Or did I care about the families that really needed help? My challenge wasn't to design appeasement campaigns. It was to design compelling radio content that would make someone pick up the phone and call for help. And I did that. And I learned early on in my career to have confidence in myself and my beliefs and my values. And this would anchor me, regardless of the resistance that I experienced. I found the importance of the work, the due diligence of research and insight gathering and learning from others tempered any inclination to second guess myself. When my ideas were challenged, which they often were, a side story, the program director walked in my office one day and said, "You are turning this radio station into a social service agency." And I think the commissioner of the National Basketball Association said something very similar to me. And whenever they did that, I had a choice. I had a choice to keep going or to respond. I never really responded, and I don't actually recall what I said back to them, and probably nothing at all, because that wasn't the point. Making a difference was. I wasn't harming the radio station or the National Basketball Association in some way. If that were the case, they would have stopped me. But they didn't, which taught me sometimes other people will see your courage and become courageous themselves to even do what goes against the grain. If we can be bold enough to challenge the status quo. I am my mother's daughter. I care deeply about fairness. I care deeply about equity. I care deeply about people's dignity. I don't believe in hierarchy of human value. I grow roots of commitment to whatever I'm engaged in. When I was working with leaders in Haiti, I was an outsider, not a Haitian, never lived in the country, and I knew embarrassingly little about Haitian history or culture. Initially, my client, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, had asked me to facilitate a meeting with their grantees. It would be the first grantee meeting that they've ever held in Haiti. To do this, I had to work with my Haitian colleagues. Rightly, there was a good deal of skepticism about my intentions. There was a need to do some work there. The sticking point was that countless times people would come to Haiti and with great ideas, only to collect a paycheck and tell Haitians what they should be doing to change their state of life. That couldn't be the way that I proceeded. The challenge that I faced in working and collaborating with my Haitian colleagues was one of trust. It was interpersonal, it was adaptive. It centered on relationships and understanding the values, not just my values, but the values of my friends. Again, Haitians are used to people coming to their country, exploiting their land, exploiting their suffering, and benevolently creating programs and projects in service of their own very flawed development agendas. Building trust with people who have historic reasons not to trust you is a challenge. It requires perspective taking. It requires deep empathy. It requires patience. It requires humility. My challenge was to gain their trust and transcend the transactional demands of my scope of work. So what did I need to do? I needed to break the rules. I needed to redesign the request. I co-designed a gathering approach with my Haitian friends with the intent to develop a peer learning network. It took 2 years of consistent effort to build strong, trust-anchored relationships between me and my Haitian colleagues. showing up time and time again, traveling to their regions, learning about their work and their families, breaking bread with them. I had to show up during times when things were quiet, during times when things were tumultuous, when they were risking everything to gather for simple meetings. I had to demonstrate that I was willing to take those risks alongside of them. I had to demonstrate my true intentions, not just talk about them. My intent had to be theirs, to discover solutions that would provide people with honor, with dignity, and with the support that they deserved. Honor and dignity had to come first. Respect for culture, the people, had to come first. There had to be evidence that my sole motivation was to accompany them as they worked to improve the conditions for Haitian children and families. Their intent had to be our true north. Based on their interest, I worked hard with my friends to co-create the Haiti Peer Learning Network. It still exists. David and I were with a group of folks in Jamaica because we couldn't go to Haiti a year ago, and we broke bread and we reminisced about the 11 years that it took to do this work. The work that we do as social designers is a long-haul deal. It is not 2 and 3 and 4 years and 5-year strategic plans. It is about commitment. It took 11 years to do what we did. It took 11 years to create the Haiti Food System Alliance, which is still working to transform the country's agriculture and food systems in order to enable Haitians to feed Haitians. The Haiti Model School Network is working even in this catastrophic period of upheaval. It is still concerning itself with how children are being educated day in and day out. Lifelong lessons, lifelong leadership lessons were forged for me in Haiti, particularly that meaningful relationships are central to leading well. My colleagues became my friends. That stone skipped in 2013, the year of the first gathering, and it continues to ripple into the future. So you know that I believe that leadership matters. I have been doing this work for 38 years. 38 years. I cannot believe it. I've garnered a lot of experience and expertise in all the fields that social design used to be called: public affairs, corporate social responsibility, government relations, social design, all of these things. I've worked in different industries. I've worked in radio and cable, television and professional sports and publishing and higher education. I've collaborated with practitioners across sectors on a number of issues. For the past 13 years, I've led my own social innovation firm that really is about helping clients achieve what they envision their work to be, the better future that they desire for their communities, they work, and they live in. I've helped leaders who have been stuck in their own status quo to move forward and to discover new approaches for addressing complex challenges. All of that is wonderful. But the reason that I teach here at SVA, and the reason I teach leadership here, is because what life has taught me, what my mother taught me, what my father-in-law taught me, is that leadership is an underappreciated but critical factor for advancing any kind of social good. I am my mother's daughter. I want to change things. We want to change things for the better. I want to be able to continue to use my authentic self to courageously and intentionally live out my purpose, which is to cultivate promise and potential so that people can live out their God-given purpose in life. My father-in-law, he modeled the way for me. My mother, she paved the way for me. I am here because of them, and they are both here with me and here with us. And that is my story. So, what are you going to do? My final words of encouragement to you. Some advice. Live intentionally. Continue to get to know yourselves deeply. That process never ends. By continuing to explore and discover your leader identities, values, and philosophies, you will live intentionally. I hope that you will continue to make brave and courageous choices with a consciousness of self, not self-consciousness, and a congruence and commitment to your values and your passions. Design with intention. You will have so many opportunities to use your knowledge and design craft in the years to come. Design with the intention to do good, good being understood and defined by the communities you accompany on the journey toward better. Lead with intentionality. Understand that when you're in the room or the space, whatever the space may be, you're not just there to take up space. Contribute humbly. Be very clear that if you are there, leading is required. But it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And if leadership is truly a process, then you're looking for your place along the way. I hope you will hold on to all of what we discovered since September. I hope that you will hold on to everything, but particularly the intent of leading and living well. If you do that, your impact will live on, like my mother's, like my father-in-law's, long past the time you walk this earth. And so, may you let your life be like a skipped stone that ripples in eternal waters. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Karen, so much for your wisdom always, for your inspiration, telling your story, helping us be brave to tell ours, and for sharing your proctorisms always. We hold those so close. It reminds me, I'm going to go off script a little bit, but that, the families, the friends, wherever you are right now have been there in so many ways. Our ancestors are there, our futures are there with us today. So I just wanted to families who are here and watching, thank you. You've supported these students through an incredible journey. I'm sure they called you, but we can't do it without our communities and our families. Again, I'm Mia Osaki. I am the chair of MFA Design for Social Innovation at SVA. I'm honored to be here today with all of you. As Karen mentioned, this is a really important ritual. The 2 years is so long and also goes by so fast. And so we mark this day. We will see the design students' valuable contributions in response to social issues, the critical ones of our time, and most importantly, the creative ways that they have collaborated and with lasting effects with so much care. I'm going to open with a few words. I promise the show is for them, but I feel like sometimes the question is, what are you all doing? What are the students doing for 2 years? So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about the program's vision and share and also show a bit of their social design journey that they've been on before you see their incredible kind of lasting effects. Design for Social Innovation, again, is a program where students learn about the design of systems, the relationships, the conditions that support the well-being of people and the planet, starting from our shared values, connecting communities, organizations, enterprises, and ecosystems with the goal of greater health, equity, access, and justice. Over 2 years, DSI students shape their perspectives and concepts, collaborating with communities and exploring what the world needs and what it might take to get there. No small task. To push against the status quo, their outcomes and processes are varied and specific as the communities that they work with. And because our systems are dynamic, always shifting, showing the cracks, showing the gaps, we design to evolve because our world is constantly changing. And we all know from the pressing social, political, and environmental events arising today that we need to do things differently. In social design, process is as important as the outcomes. What we design is important, but who is included, and notably, you'll hear this tonight, who has not been included, who has not been brought to the table. And the why and the how it's been designed is also critical. Design can be thought of as decisions or choices that lead to an output that has a desired effect on others. And we hope that effect is a positive one, but it sometimes is not. Social designers are concerned with not designing more things in the world. I always say this every year, we don't need more things, but to approach design ethically, responsibly, and sustainably. Think root causes. Why is this happening? Think nature. What already exists? What's working well? What could be protected and grown, adapted, or strengthened? Think about the last time you felt joy, the last time you felt care. How does this address our needs? And what benefit will it have on us? These are the questions that these students have brought to us. Don't get overwhelmed. DSI grad students come from all over the world. They speak a variety of different languages. They are the bravest for coming to do a graduate program in social design for 2 years. They bring their diverse perspectives and vast global issues that they're passionate about. But what I hear most, and each of you told me this because I went back to remember when we first met, that you valued making a difference in the world. Knowing that a more equitable, a more just, a healthier world is worth every ounce of our effort. So we've collected a list of DSI thesis topics that the students have worked on since the program started in 2012, and there are no shortage of issues. I'm telling you, 10 years later, we still have injustice, polarization, genocide, abuse, poverty. In a time when weapons and profits are prioritized over people, health, and food, rapidly developing technologies make us question the truth, fearing what's happening under the surface, lurking unseen. It can feel daunting, I know. It's overwhelming. Sometimes the big problems, we're like, where do we go from now? And we, DSI, are here so that we can move forward. We break the paralysis. When we remember that, everything happens by design, and you saw that in Karen's keynote tonight. We believe that design or redesign can help improve things that don't work and definitely don't work for enough people. Social design shows up in unusual places where design may not have been considered before. Yuri Kochiyama, to return to some of the themes tonight, a civil rights leader, said that every act of resistance, no matter how small, contributes to the larger struggle. Our students know this well. We start small and specific, knowing that our actions can have unexpected outcomes and take us in unusual directions. The metaphor repeated today, you'll see, is around the impact of the smallest of actions. A drop creates a ripple. Ripples turn into waves. Waves can build upon themselves to amplify and multiply our efforts to heal, to regenerate, and repair. The goal? To create more access, more freedom, less disconnection, less destruction, fewer negative consequences. We hope you'll feel the ripples today and that the social designers here have started. Social innovation, I'll talk a little bit about this, shows us that there's no one single solution. There's no way to solve or fix anything. These complicated problems the complex problems are big. So more pathways, we believe, are needed to add to our approaches, created through interdisciplinary partnership to bring together research, enterprise, strategic thinking, impact measurement, evaluation, so that we know it works, and of course, care and creative leadership. Art and design offer us really exciting possibilities and imagination. What does food, music, dance, poetry, and art offer to support engagement, expression, advocacy, provide alternative models, help us grow? While collaboration is essential, what often happens is that those who should be at the table, as I mentioned before, those who are most affected, those who ultimately should benefit, are excluded or sometimes ignored, intentionally or unintentionally. Social design practice requires us to collaborate in communities, therefore, in different ways, to shift power and to center those who are underrepresented. Our goals and visions are co-created and particularly focused on those disproportionately affected, such as communities of color, women, LGBTQ+, those disabled people, those who are young. To face stigmas, to amplify and raise the collective courage to speak out. Because we listen, we can hear the chances to try new things. You'll see how this is how co-design works at its best. The many ripples begin to expand. And lastly, a little bit of the social. Students learn the theories, and this is key. We practice them out in the world. So that means we're not doing this by ourselves. We're not doing this in the studio. We are looking for people who want to collaborate with us. So that's a part of the thesis. They have to do that work, and they've done it just beautifully and gracefully. It means that they're working in relationship with others. Sometimes they're even working with non-living things, and they're doing it with so much care. And in reality, it is not always easy because, well, you know, we humans, we like to make things hard. Awareness that transforming the world means that we must transform ourselves through reflection, analysis, through laughter, humility, and critical thinking. Oops. As mentioned before, we believe that everything is designed, from systems to products, services to policies, from conversations to workshops. Social designers seek responsible approaches of working together. Again, there's more than just putting people in the room and saying, let's collaborate, right? We need to shift our practices. We need to look for approaches that are accessible, equitable, and caring, and to do no harm as much as we can try to predict what might happen. A vital necessity for the continuation of our ecosystems. It is possible. As I went to look for images when this cohort started in the fall of 2022, we were still affected by the pandemic. It kind of feels like yesterday, and then also so far away. It's still with us, y'all. We are still sensing our continuing isolation and disruption. Stepping back to look at their incredible work that they've been able to achieve. What is interesting is how they explore what it means to be together. Yes, in real life, yes, with real people, in person. Themes of gathering, sharing experiences, and growing community anew, to explore the value of what might nurture and sustain us. Their thesis work shows the commitment, courage, and positive outcomes that happen when we take chances and are open to opportunities to iterate and improve and not predict where we're going to go, right? We go where the energy is because of our willingness and humanity to do it together. Doing the right thing, even if it is the hard thing. These are words that I hope you'll take with you today, as Brian Stevenson from the Equal Justice Initiative reminds us. Today, these graduates turned social designers will share their 2-year journey. You'll hear more stories. That's the root of our work and theories of change. Ripples meeting ripples, making waves. The thesis projects highlight issues that are a matter of concern and care for our world today. They will talk about environmental health, education, climate crisis, health and wellness, immigration, caste, gender empowerment, job burnout, and cultural understanding. From the Bronx to Central America, they've traveled with communities of educators, young people, nurses, families, businesses, organizers, activists, workers. Woo. We hope that there might be an area that perhaps all of you might also help to support and grow. They share today to expand the pathways of change and inspire us all. Curious? Their projects are going to show us the way. So now we're going to start the show. I often share this quote at the end of the year because it reflects our philosophy at DSI. Education, as the practice of freedom, enables us to confront feelings of loss and restore our sense of connection. It teaches us how to create community, bell hooks. And to do this, the thesis process is led by our knowledgeable support team of thesis advisors who bring their vast experience to guide the students in our DSI community. We could not do it without you. So they will say a little bit and introduce some themes that have come up in the students' work. I'd like to quickly introduce our advisors who are sitting in behind the students tonight. They are doing things like building public pools that filter out our rivers, stewarding ecologies and ancestry, speculative design and provocation, and health and care. Get to know them and definitely ask them more. Mari Nakano, designer system strategist for social and environmental justice. Kara Meyer, managing director of Plus Pool, making the waters free for NYC. Sahar Gahari, design provocateur, founder of the incredible Gray Area Collective, and Lona Vincent, the strong and fierce global director of Johnson & Johnson Innovation. Wow, they are such an amazing team. You amazing folks help us learn with freedom and rigor by example and practice. I appreciate our teamwork. I appreciate your generous mentorship, and I appreciate all the inspiring leadership that you bring. You spend hours, I'm talking Saturdays, evenings, text messages. They are right there, and so this collaboration is so much broader and better because of everybody. So without further ado, the first advisor up is Mari Nakano, an activist, civic designer, and ecosystem advocate who has worked at places like UNICEF and the Service Design Studio at the New York City Office of Economic Opportunity. Mari is our second-year thesis advisor, teaches our disruptive design course and co-creative research. She is our spring 2024 designer in residence. Whew. She is nonstop and a never-ending source of creativity, energy, and experience, and the students will nod their heads to that. Her work is up at the DSI studio, so we invite you to see Show Love Through Food. Mari can whip up a feast and design a community activity with her eyes closed. So please welcome Mari Nakano.
Almost gonna get started. Hold on, I have a couple things to say. First, hello community, and thank you to Mia and Karen for your beautiful introductions. Also, hello to this fly that keeps coming around too. We welcome Mother Nature in here as well. Hello, my name is Mari Nakano. I'm an adjunct faculty and one of 4 thesis advisors. Thank you again for joining us today to learn from and to celebrate the class of 2024. Yeah, always. Got to give so much love to you all. As advisors, we serve as coaches and sounding boards for thesis year students, helping them frame their work and figure out how to best advocate for the communities they represent through their projects. But before I introduce our first students to the stage, I do want to take a moment to not just acknowledge all our students' hard work, but also their power. These students have not only hustled hard to bring you stories and proposals that aim to tackle systemic social issues, but they have managed to accomplish this during an unprecedented time when the world's attention is drawn to the ongoing genocide of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. The world cries loudly for justice more than ever. And there are students here today and outside of this theater who have been distressed over this for the majority of this school year. To navigate a graduate social design program while enduring the heartbreak and trauma so many of us are feeling right now is no easy feat. But students, your perseverance demonstrates your leadership. Your ability to stand tall on this stage this afternoon is ever more powerful. We admire your strength and look forward to you all taking the helm and uplifting the world, transforming it into a place we collectively dream of, where those who are persecuted and exploited are safe, where children and families can grow together lovingly, where healthy food is abundant and nourishes everyone, where people can be their full and whole selves, and where we can coexist and be stewards of the animals, plants, and natural elements that keep our planet alive. At DSI, we critique systems, identifying where we can disrupt, shift, or even dismantle these systems so that people on the planet can thrive. Choosing to be part of this program, choosing to build the skills and relationships to equip ourselves, to equip yourselves to be the change we desperately need in this world, comes with the responsibility not to uphold these systems of oppression, but to undo them and redesign and uplift sustainable systems rooted in equity, in care, in kindness, in community. This is what you can contribute to this world. This is what you've been contributing to this world. I've said this quote before from Rumi, but you are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. Whether you think this of yourself or not in this moment, you are enough. So I hope you keep tapping into this power. You are making bold and brave moves, voicing your beliefs in the face of adversity and taking risks to demand justice and liberation for your communities and for Mother Earth. Thesis Show is a time of celebration, I recognize that, and realization, but it would be a failure to not acknowledge that we are amidst a community of students, many right here in New York City, who are not able to finish their term smoothly, who are losing their work-study opportunities, being arrested, brutalized, risking their degrees, and who are missing out on their commencement ceremonies because they chose to stand up against the punitive and grave injustices political and institutional leaders continue to enable. So as you come up here today, no pressure, may that energy and spirit of those students, and may the passion that we have as truth seekers, as storytellers and change makers come through in your voices today. I have all the confidence in all of you. This afternoon, advisors have the pleasure of introducing our students under 4 themes: community empowerment, cultural preservation and celebration, social justice and healing, and interdisciplinary approaches. Each advisor will come up here today to introduce these themes under which several students are grouped. While perhaps most, if not all, of today's projects center around the first theme of community empowerment, these first 2 presenting students most certainly seek to uplift and advance their work through power and knowledge building. So with that, for community engagement, each project centers around empowering specific communities, whether it's the Bronx youth, South Asian diaspora, Chinese American nurses, New York City Chinese diaspora, tween girls in Latin America, or first-generation Korean immigrant women. Empowerment is achieved through various means, such as art-based initiatives, storytelling, and collective healing spaces. So Alejandra Lebreus and Madhuri Rao will be presenting under this theme. So without further ado, let's get started with someone who always brings her fire, Ale. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Mari, for your time and for introducing me. There's music that we can't take out of our heads, and there's music that changes our thinking. My name is Alejandra, and this is Neighborhood. Growing up in Veracruz, Mexico, I was always aware of social issues, political regimes, and violence that deeply wounded my country. I have always been driven to confront social injustices, urging my family to join me in protest, who have always encouraged me to raise my voice. And I soon realized that despite the violence and injustices, music brought my people together. We would gather to sing, dance, and celebrate in the public square in Córdoba, Veracruz. This was when my passion for music with a message started. Artists like Bob Marley, with his messages of inclusion and unity. Songs like Rebelión by Colombian salsero Joe Arroyo, telling the story of a time long past, but a present that somehow remained. Bad Bunny and Residentes' call to action to Boricuas against their government in verano de 2019. And going all the way back to La Bamba, a song from my home state that carries within echoes of African roots and Arab diaspora, mixed with indigenous Mexican rhythms, celebrating diversity and resilience. All of this brought me to discover a new genre, hip-hop, and I became passionate about its powerful call to action lyrics. I started listening to artists like Tupac Shakur, who shared his Black heritage with the people, and Public Enemy's calls to fight the power. But we cannot talk about hip-hop without mentioning The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, South Bronx native themselves. This particular song was one of the first songs that provided social commentary and described the stress of living in the inner city's poverty. This is hip-hop activism, but let's get down to the deep roots of the history of this genre. Hip-hop was born in the mid-60s, immediately after the creation of the massive piece of infrastructure. Constructed in the mid-50s by Robert Moses, the Cross-Bronx Expressway prioritized private transportation over public infrastructure, which favored wealthy Americans. To some, the construction of the Cross-Bronx Expressway symbolized progress and modernity, but not to the residents of the Bronx. Right from the beginning of its construction, the Cross-Bronx Expressway caused immediate social, environmental, and economic challenges. It divided the borough in half, bringing separation, displacement, destruction into the Bronx. And despite numerous complaints and issues with the project, Robert Moses simply went on, muting the voices of the residents of the Bronx. The aftermath? Decades of health problems, causing, according to American Lung Association, the highest rates of child asthma. 20 years after its construction, we witnessed the birth of hip-hop, a movement that gave the people a platform to amplify their voices. Hip-hop brought together what was once separated by the Cross-Bronx Expressway. It all began in summer of '73, when a back-to-school party took place in 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. Fittingly enough, DJ Kool Herc unknowingly threw the first ever hip-hop jam in the perfect location, right at the intersection of the I-95 and the beginning of the Cross-Bronx Expressway. Fast forward 50 years later, after that very first party, the health concerns, the economic disparities, and the social challenges caused by the Cross-Bronx Expressway not only remain, but have been exacerbated. And as a consequence of these disparities, a project that means to cap the Cross Bronx has emerged, led by prominent community organizer, environmental activist, and Bronx native himself, Nilka Martel. The project to cap the Cross Bronx Expressway involves building parks and green spaces over the approximately 2.5 miles of the expressway that run below ground, which would not only create a continuous surface, but will help reduce air pollution, noise, and reconnect communities divided by the Cross Bronx. Despite the efforts of the Department of Transportation and New York City Planning to hold meetings aimed at collecting community feedback for this project, the recurring challenges have not only been the lack of participation from the community, but also the lack of diverse representation, as it is the same individuals constantly attending these meetings, failing to reflect the rich cultural tapestry that characterizes the Bronx community, which led me to wonder, whose voices weren't we listening to? If this is a long-term project, why weren't we building trust, raising awareness, and opening brave spaces for the younger generation? Why weren't we amplifying the voices of younger Bronxites? So this is a project about the Bronx, its culture, and its people. Neighborhood is a combination of all of these things. It's a community-driven initiative celebrating the vibrant native hip-hop scene of the Bronx and inspired by environmental challenges and inequities. It is by using art and hip-hop as a vehicle to amplify people's voices and increase young civic engagement. So by collaborating with Bronx-based organizations such as Loving the Bronx, Bronx Connect, in combination with organizations that use hip-hop culture for educational purposes, such as Hip Hop Works, we produce storytelling events and gatherings from young Bronxites. The first event was Rimas y Realidades, a 3-hour bilingual session that brought together 30 local high school students. The event aim was to create a space in which youth can express their thoughts about the Cross Bronx Expressway and to give them a platform to local teenagers that could connect with hip-hop activists, MCs, and sharing the universal language of hip-hop, their hopes and concerns for their own community. To kick off the session, we aim to fully immerse participants in the vibrant culture of hip-hop, creating a collaborative style graffiti mural featuring a simple prompt, Los Sonidos del Bronx, Sounds of the Bronx. People of all ages eager contributed, including the staff of Bronx Connect, engaging in conversations about growing up in the Bronx during different times as more people added their contributions. And at the end of the activity, and without even starting the conversation about the Cross Bronx and hip-hop culture or any other topic, the mural revealed some interesting themes. There were many contributions expressing frustration for incoming traffic and poor air quality in the community, references to trucks, car honking, smoke, and even a drawing of the above-ground subway and its respective sound waves. Participants wrote phrases in Spanish, such as people speaking español and una señora vendiendo taquitos. They referenced their countries, Mexico, Ecuador, reflecting an awareness of Latin and Hispanic culture's influences in the Bronx. Some fascinating contributions made reference to the importance of music as the Bronx everyday soundtrack. And lastly, it's important to point out that the young attendees acknowledge the Bronx diversity and they have growing interest for social justice. As we trace the roots of hip-hop, evidencing how this cultural movement is inseparable from the story of the Cross Bronx Expressway, it was fascinating to observe the audience's reaction as we unveiled these connections together. We invited rapper Danger A.K. Martinez, who believes in the power of hip-hop as a social transformative tool. The attendees wrote their own raps, and many wrote beyond the scope of writing one bar, with one young boy even filling out a whole page. And although everyone seemed jovial and excited about this event, the content of the bar revealed major frustration among the older participants. Uriel, A Hispanic young adult wrote in his bar, "Llevo un año aquí y no sabía que mi sobrina sufre asma a causa de una autopista. Construida por un mercenario, eso me hace pensar que esta ciudad no es distinta a mi barrio." Orlinda, one of the few female attendees whom, by the way, showed a special interest in environmental justice. People try to complain about the bad air and how dirty the community is, but they are not trying to do anything about it. These lyrics conveyed a sense of frustration and helplessness dealing with the status quo, as well as the desire for more community engagement and proactive solutions. We finalized the session by handing out diplomas and inviting attendees to keep creating and keep sharing their stories. The depth of the content created throughout the event revealed many pressing issues faced by the residents of the Bronx, highlighting feelings of neglect. However, this event also demonstrated that justice-based art activities and rap can empower young participants to amplify their voices and speak up their lived realities in the Bronx, acknowledging the importance of intergenerational engagement in projects that could shift the future of the Bronx. Through Rimas y Realidades, we found out that bilingual sessions simultaneously were maybe unproductive, so we will hold multiple sessions this summer, each in one language. To this end, Bronx Connect suggested that summer assemblies could be a good start in Crotona High School, which holds many Hispanic students. Hip-hop is a multi-pillar culture, so Neighborhood aims to diversify, maybe moving to breakdancing and using our bodies as storytelling, and graffiti, a dynamic adventure for social commentary. We also hope to collaborate with artists whose work foster natural connection with attendees, creating a sense of immediate and profound resonance. So this is Neighborhood. The only thing that's louder than 1,000 cars passing by is the sound of Bronxite voices combined. Thank you. Now, please, let me welcome environmental activist y mi amiga personal, Madhuri Rao.
Thank you for the beautiful presentation and introduction, Ale. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start today with a powerful quote by Dr. Vandana Siva, an Indian scholar and an ecofeminist. Sustainable agriculture is not just about growing crops. It's about caring for the soil, the water, the air, and all the living things that depend on them. Envisioning a future where our food systems are regenerative and our diets nourish both our bodies and the planet. Today, I invite you to explore this vision with me as we delve into Earth's Kitchen. I'm thrilled to present to you my thesis project, Earth's Kitchen, where we explore the intersection of food, public health, sustainability, and community development. I'm Madhuri Rao, and I'm from India. I have always felt a strong connection to nature and animals, and I am a strong advocate of animal advocacy, welfare, and climate action. This inspired me to go vegan 12 years ago. Climate change affects everyone, and some more than others. With Earth's Kitchen, I hope to empower individuals by increasing awareness about different choices we can make to protect our planet from further destruction. Did you know that animal-based items like beef, poultry, and dairy significantly contribute to greenhouse gas emissions compared to plant-based options like fruits, vegetables, and nuts? This underscores the importance of mindful dietary choices in mitigating climate change. Food systems and animal agriculture significantly impact our environment. They contribute to a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions. Half of the world's habitable land is used for agriculture. 94% of the global mammal biomass, excluding humans, is livestock. 36% of the global crop calories is used to feed animals, and only 12% converts to human food. Grain used as animal feed in the US could feed close to 1 billion people. Yes, you heard that right. 71% of the global bird biomass consists of poultry livestock. 78% of the global ocean and freshwater pollution is attributed to agriculture. Large areas of forests and wildland have been converted to agricultural land. These statistics highlight the extensive environmental presence and pressure caused by the current food systems. Yet there is hope. There is a growing demand and trend towards a plant-based lifestyle and diet, which signals a positive shift towards sustainability. With 48% of restaurants offering plant-based options and 25 million people having participated in this year's Veganuary, an annual challenge where you start the year with a plant-based lifestyle. Change is on its way. My collaboration with the Plant-Based Treaty has been instrumental in shaping Earth's Kitchen. Their mission to promote a shift towards a just plant-based food system aligns well with my goals, where Dr. Anita and Ellen have been my pillars and invaluable guides throughout this process. My research process involved immersing myself in various activities like volunteering at animal farm sanctuaries, joining climate save marches and vegan festivals, engaging with diverse perspectives to highlight the interconnectedness of animal welfare, climate justice, and food systems. Additionally, conducting one-on-one interviews with experts, activists, farmers, NYC food policy directors, health practitioners, and the stakeholders across different demographics allowed me to capture an unbiased and holistic view of the landscape. After my interview with Genesis Butler, a youth climate save activist, I had a realization. While my initial focus was on supporting and empowering the youth, I understood that addressing this complex issue requires involvement from all the stakeholders, and especially adults. We need collective action to tackle this issue. Through surveys, I identified motivators and barriers to adopting a plant-based diet. Family, culture, and community emerged as significant influencers, reflecting the importance of community engagement. Taste and personal health were identified as strong motivations, highlighting the diverse factors that drive our dietary choices. High costs, lack of cooking skills, and unfamiliarity with plant-based food were some of the other identified barriers. How might we empower New York City residents to embrace a plant-based diet and actively participate in climate change mitigation through community engagement and resource sharing? This question forms the foundation of Earth's Kitchen initiative. Prototypes like plant-based cooking workshops, themed dinners, fostered community engagement and skill sharing. These initiatives reveal the power of community in promoting sustainable living practices. By providing interactive and inclusive platforms, we can empower individuals to make informed decisions. By incorporating climate-smart, inclusive, and immersive experiences, like the Natural Dye workshop I co-hosted with my thesis advisor, Marina Cano, where we provided participants with plant-powered experiences and skills. Additionally, offering plant-based starter kits and resources at the DSI potluck enhanced the immersive experience and made it a very learning and engaging experience for everyone. These prototypes demonstrated that inclusive workshops and potlucks, enriched with cultural elements and resources, fostered a sense of community and encouraged dialogue around climate-conscious stewardship. Participating in potlucks provided opportunities to sampling new food, feeling more confident with our cooking skills, building connections through shared experiences and memories. Earth's Kitchen intervention focuses on fostering plant-based dietary habits through participatory workshops and community gatherings, sharing tools and resources for lasting behavior change, and hosting potlucks and plant-based activities. Community gatherings have shown to foster engagement, promote healing, and spark joy. They provide a platform for dialogue, mutual inspiration, driving positive change within communities. This growing digital library of resources includes plant-based starter kits, recipes, and information on potlucks and other events to increase community engagement. This requires a lot of community input, and everyone is open to add to these resources. Partnering with organizations like the Plant-Based Treaty enables larger reach and impact. Activities like potlucks, cooking classes foster a sense of community and empower participants to make holistic choices and build a conscious community. I'm committed to continuing my work with the Plant-Based Treaty and expanding our community-based initiatives. In June, I will be participating at the Climate Change Youth Advocacy Summit by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, where I intend to engage with the youth and their families by sharing resources. These initiatives are essential steps in our ongoing efforts to create a more environmentally conscious and resilient community. And I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone that has participated and helped me get through this process. Thank you to all the participants, stakeholders, and supporters who have supported me and been a part of this journey. A special gratitude to my community partners, Dr. Anita and Ellen, all the advisors, Mari, my thesis advisor, for constantly guiding me, being a mentor, and always encouraging me. To Mia, for your guidance and for allowing me to share my plant-based journey and to somehow get DSI be a part of it. I have seen the change happen in these 2 years, and I really appreciate everyone. For Karen, for your leadership and sharing your wisdom with us. To all the DSI faculty for your support and wisdom. My friends at DSI, thank you for being there through tough times. I know it hasn't been easy for everyone, but we made it. My sister and my parents for your constant support, and also for joining me on this plant-based journey. Lastly, I would like to dedicate this to my brother, Arush, whose memory continues to inspire me every day. As humans, we are constantly changing and evolving, and it is time for us to be aware and be a part of this new change. I'll leave you with this powerful quote by Dr. Jane Goodall. Only if we understand can we care. Only if we care will we help. Only if we help shall we be saved. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Madhuri. Hi, everyone. I'm Sahar Gahari. I'm one of the thesis advisors. I've had the privilege of watching these students grow and change into amazing social designers over the past year. Today, several projects emphasize the importance of preserving and celebrating cultural heritage, whether it's through storytelling and music in the Bronx, healing intergenerational trauma in the South Asian diaspora, or reconnecting with traditional Eastern wisdom in the Chinese community. These efforts aim to challenge mainstream narratives and strengthen collective well-being by embracing cultural diversity. So I'd love for you all to help me welcome our next social designer, Jenny Lau.
So thank you, Sahar, for that beautiful introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny, and before diving in, I wanted to ask all of you in the audience to raise your hands if you consider yourself a foodie, whether you're an amateur cook, if you love exploring restaurants. Okay, so for those of you who are joining us through the live stream, I'm seeing a lot of hands being raised, which is amazing because I myself am a huge foodie as well. But I was wondering if any of you have ever heard someone talk about how foods from certain cultures are unhealthy? Have you ever felt ashamed bringing a cultural dish to school or work for fear it might be remarked as weird looking or smelly? Maybe you've seen posts claiming that MSG is bad, or had a doctor tell you that to stop eating white rice because it lacks nutrition, even though it's a staple that you grew up on. I know I've been conditioned this way. Growing up in Hong Kong, I always found solace in my mother's nourishing Chinese soups. But when COVID hit New York, I was living here alone, and my anxiety grew until it manifested as an endless list of debilitating physical symptoms. From sporadically losing sensation in my limbs, to having a resting heart rate of 140 beats per minute, to developing chronic hives, which, by the way, I'm still dealing with 3 years later, hence why I'm wearing a high neck top to cover my stress rashes. Eventually, my visa expired and I returned home, a place where mental health remains a taboo topic today. I spent a year going on weekly visits to different forms of therapy, yet the only constant relief for me was the familiarity of my cultural cuisine. This experience transformed how I view food, from mere sustenance to deep nourishment. As I immersed myself in learning about the role of gut health and mental well-being, being home reconnected me with my cultural food heritage. Surrounded by old cookbooks filled with scribbled notes and my mother's recipes, I became passionate about exploring the impact of culinary traditions on well-being, driving me to uncover the deep wisdom and resilience that is embedded in our culinary heritage. As a Chinese social designer, I switched from thinking about this as a personal health issue to one of the communities. I discovered that my journey of living in the US and reconnecting with my roots reflects a larger issue, which is how the lack of cultural humility and mainstream Western advice often ignores the healthy cultural food traditions that diaspora communities live on, erasing generations of wisdom and contributing to severed identity ties. Here in the US, where immigrants make up a significant portion of the population, Asians account for over 21.1 million last year. And in New York City alone, there are over 600,000 Chinese Americans, making them the fastest growing ethnic group. So it's clear that Asian diaspora communities continue to increase. Yet a sense of belonging remains elusive. Asian Americans still don't feel that they truly belong here, citing discrimination, a continued rise in anti-Asian hate crimes, and lingering stereotypes. So I surveyed Chinese diaspora members online, which revealed a strong connection between cultural foods and identity. However, with 74% of registered dietitians being white, mainstream nutrition advice often overlooks diverse cultural food traditions, as felt by the respondents. The media's focus on the Mediterranean diet, or kale as the queen of greens, underscores this lack of representation for cultural produce and traditional dishes in the definitions of healthy food. And I don't mean to be biased, but I actually think that bak choy, or bak toy in Cantonese, is the real star here. To better understand my community, I formed the Hot Pot Healing Collective, which is a diverse group of Chinese diaspora members who have greatly enriched my research by sharing their stories, experiences, and perspectives. This advisory group is anchored by 3 dedicated local individuals, Kelvin, Wimson, and Sabrina, and beyond them, the collective also encompasses a broader network, including registered dietitians, nutrition students, mental health experts, and social workers. Along the way, I also discovered key moments in the diaspora journey that lead to a loss of connection with cultural food traditions. On the left, we can see that early childhood is filled with pride as family dishes provide comfort at home. But as kids grow and start school, this pride often fades due to the pressure to fit in, eroding their cultural confidence. However, in their late 20s, they begin to feel curious about their roots again, sparking a profound opportunity to reconnect with their cultural identity. So, how might we preserve Chinese food identity so that today's Chinese diaspora communities are empowered to advocate for their well-being and their cultural truths? I've been looking for a holistic approach that covers multiple aspects of Chinese food identity and well-being, but I've noticed that a lot of the current work focuses on just one aspect, like traditional Chinese medicine or cooking techniques, without considering the cultural and emotional importance of dishes, or even how food helps to build community. That being said, I've been inspired by so many. For example, Zoe Gong. She's a Chinese medicine food therapist, chef, and registered dietitian here in New York who leads community workshops in Chinese nourishment. Similarly, a nonprofit called Old Ways promotes heritage-based diets with resources like an Asian food glossary and food pyramid poster, though generic, are crucial steps toward more culturally responsive nutrition care. And let's not forget about the wealth of Chinese cooking content on YouTube and Instagram, sharing recipes and cooking tips. So this makes me think, how can I build on all of this incredible work and take it to the next level? Well, this is where Nourishing Roots comes in, a food heritage wellness platform and storytelling tool that empowers people of Chinese descent to preserve and cultivate traditional food knowledge, connect with cultural roots, and strengthen collective well-being, all while challenging mainstream narratives. To bring Nourishing Roots to life, I've been developing 3 core elements that will exist on the platform, which were rooted in healing, celebrating, and preserving. Through co-design workshops, I collaborated with the community to ensure that the solutions are culturally relevant and grounded in their lived realities. So let's explore how these pillars come into play. To promote healing, we need visual guides that align with our cultural diets. First, workshop participants took apart existing nutrition guides from around the world. Then they created new ones that better reflect Chinese dietary practices. And based on everyone's insights and ideas, I then created this preliminary guide that sorts common Chinese vegetables, grains, proteins, and fruits, and uses colors to reflect TCM properties as provided in the key. Once complete, the plan is to offer this guide for free on the platform's healing section, which will make it easier for the community to access nutrition advice that respects Chinese culinary traditions, as well as helps to integrate these into mainstream dietary health recommendations. In celebrating food heritage, this spotlighting series showcases how Chinese dishes have nurtured us for generations. The dishes displayed are from an archive created during reflective workshops in various sessions. This section of the platform provides a welcoming space for community members to share their stories, recipes, and insights with each other, cultivating a collective appreciation for our cultural cuisine. And in preserving food heritage, I've learned that many cherish the moments of connection and learning in the kitchen. My pawpaw, or my grandmother, was the cornerstone of our family's culinary traditions. Sadly, she passed away in 2020, leaving behind a legacy of over 100 red bean dumplings that she would hand make by herself every single New Year, which my mom and I still struggle to replicate. But we laugh because our attempts never look, taste, or even feel the same, proving that some recipes just need a secret ingredient called grandma's love. This humor yet poignant personal experience, along with stories shared by community members, highlights the importance of creating more channels to preserve our culinary traditions. While the knowledge passed down is held dearly, there is often a desire for more opportunities to engage in deeper conversations about food memories, cooking tips, and the stories behind family recipes. Which is why this card game called Savoring Stories can foster these meaningful discussions, capturing and documenting family food rituals, knowledge, and memories. It has been categorized into 6 different themes with prompts that were refined with community input. Available digitally on the platform and in print for community events, it is a storytelling tool that strengthens intergenerational bonds and preserves our intergenerational stories. So you might be thinking, what's next? Moving forward, I am dedicated to refining and expanding Nourishing Roots through community collaboration. Short-term goals include growing our core team, forming partnerships with organizations and educational institutions, and enhancing the platform's features for an official launch. And in the long term, I envision broadening the platform to support other cultural communities. Ultimately, Nourishing Roots is a movement to reclaim and celebrate the power of our cultural food heritage. And with that, I hope you will join me to embrace the nourishing wisdom of our roots and create a world where all cultures can thrive. This project would not exist without the Chinese diaspora community members who generously share their voices and stories, for whom I am deeply grateful. And thank you also to the DSI faculty and my inspiring cohort for their unwavering support. And now I invite my fiercely courageous classmate and friend, Hwa-young, onto the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. I love you. Hello, everyone. Before we begin, I inform you that this presentation includes mention of violence and racism, which may be emotionally challenging for some individuals. If you find these topics triggering, please know that it's okay to take the necessary steps for your emotional safety. Now, I am inviting everyone to my thesis journey. Let me introduce the pirates. In 2016, a 23-year-old woman was fatally stabbed in a public restroom in Seoul, South Korea. The perpetrator waited inside, allowing 6 men to pass before the victim entered. He later confessed that his motive was from feeling ignored by women. Despite this clear motivation, authorities refused to classify it as a hate crime. The tragedy sparked a feminism reboot in South Korea. A young Korean woman started to speak out courageously against misogyny in South Korea. In response, my friends and I founded a feminist collective. During the 2010s, the Escape Korea movement emerged as a response to the harsh living conditions and hyper-competitive culture. This movement particularly resonated with young Korean women, especially amidst the feminism reboot era. Many women made the difficult decision to leave or had already left South Korea in pursuit of better opportunities and environments. Among the 8 members of our feminist collective, 3, myself included, left South Korea. So how are these women who left Korea faring? How are they navigating life after Escape Korea? Research indicates that the first-generation Korean immigrant women in the U.S. often encounter significant struggles, including the loss of familiar environments and social networks, language barrier, social isolation, and loneliness. But I noticed a significant gap in existing studies regarding the communities and narratives of first-generation Korean immigrant women in the current landscape. Existing studies did not show the motivation of immigration, neither the significance of the Escape Korea movement. How about now? I moved to New York in 2021, escaped from Korea's gender discrimination, seeking sanctuary in this city. I encountered yet another form of discrimination and hate. Hate crimes targeting Asians have surged during the COVID-19 pandemic. In response, New York City launched a public art campaign titled, "I Still Believe in Our City." While this campaign provided some solace, I couldn't shake off questions. Do I truly belong here? Will I ever call America my home? Driven by these uncertainties, I wanted to explore the experience of other first-generation Korean immigrant women in New York. How are they navigating this situation? These reflections led me to the crucial questions. How might we create a safe and inclusive environment environment that foster a sense of belonging for first-generation Korean immigrant women? Recognizing the importance of understanding and addressing the unique needs of this demographic, I embarked on a series of one-on-one interviews to collect stories of first-generation Korean immigrant women in their 20s and 30s living in New York. Their interview with first-generation Korean immigrant women in New York unveiled a tapestry of diverse and fascinating life trajectories. Then I noticed a recurring pattern emerged. Many began interviews with statements like, "I don't know if this could be a story." This tendency reflects the enduring pressure for women immigrants to continually prove themselves and the pervasive uncertainty that often accompanies their journey, that compels them to downplay their achievements, attributing their success to mere luck, rather than acknowledging their own agency and resilience. During my interviews, I discovered a valuable resource for first-generation Korean immigrants women, an online Korean book club led by Chorung Lee, a supervising librarian at the New York Public Library, 53rd Street branch, and a first-generation immigrant herself. While the club welcomes all participants, it's notable that the majority of its members are women, highlighting the urge for connection and community within this demographic. Recognizing the significance of this initiative, we built the partnership. With our partnership, I am dedicated to fostering connections and cultivating a supportive community to address the shared experience of first-generation Korean immigrant women. My goal was to build a space where these women can openly discuss the challenges they face, document their immigration journeys, embrace their immigrant identities, and celebrate their accomplishments, and empower through recognition. This is how the journey of the Pirates began. The Pirates is a collaborative safe space for first-generation Korean immigrant women who relocated to New York City seeking sanctuary from prevalent gender discrimination in South Korea. Women of the Pirates collectively recount migration experiences, commemorate achievements, affirm their identities, and document the contemporary narrative of Korean women's immigration history. New York Sailing Log is the first writing workshop of the Pirates. Developed and executed in collaboration with Mina Ha and with the support of the 53rd Street Library, this workshop is designed to cultivate a safe and inclusive environment, provide participants with a platform to share their own narratives and forge connections through writing, nurturing a sense of belonging and building solidarity within the community. The workshop unfolded across 2 sessions. The primary objective of the first session was to create a safe and non-judgmental environment for sharing writings. 10 workshop participants, meeting for the first time, introduced themselves and engaged in open conversations about why they left Korea and the struggles they encountered during their immigration journeys. Participants were given time to individually write their immigration journeys in advance of the second session. During the second session, we shared feedback. Some participants expressed the experience of relieving, confronting, and processing traumatic events and emotions for the first time through their writing. Some left their writing incomplete as they realized they had not yet fully processed their experiences. So collectively, we decided to extend this workshop until all writing is completed. The deadline for the final completion has been set for May 20th. The Pirates is an ongoing endeavor fueled by the belief in the power of storytelling to bridge divides and foster understanding. Once the New York Sailing Log workshop is complete, the next step is to share it with a wider audience. I am planning to launch a website dedicated to location-based storytelling. Scan the QR code to receive updates on the Pirates, which will be held in various formats such as websites, public events, and zine workshops. Tears shed during one-on-one interviews and workshop discussions reaffirmed my belief in the necessity of supporting first-generation Korean immigrant women who have immigrated due to gender discrimination. Embarking on the journey of the Pirates was a declaration of the validity and existence of these experiences. Through sharing this journey, I imagine a diverse community of the Pirates, spanning generations and nationalities, navigating the seas of life with fearless determination, propagating love and courage in our wake. I conclude my presentation by sharing a beautiful poem that Mina shared with me. Won't you celebrate with me by Lucille Clifton. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into, a kind of life I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be expect myself? I made it up. Here on the bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight, my other hand, come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. The pirates stand as a testament to courage and resilience. With profound respect and admiration, I honor the resilience of the Palestinian people amidst the ongoing genocide and displacement in the lands of Palestine. I express my deepest gratitude to the first-generation Korean immigrants women who trusted me and shared their stories. Thank you so much. We'll be back after intermission. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. We are going to get started with the second half of our presentations today. The next topic is on social justice and healing, which is our third theme. My name is Lona Vincent, and I get the great pleasure of being a thesis advisor to these brilliant social innovators who have each touched on topics that are quite timely to our public discourse. And many projects address issues of social justice and healing, including environmental health in the Bronx, caste apartheid in South Asian communities, job-related burnout among Chinese American nurses, and social reintegration after abuse and trauma in Latin America. These projects seek to combat systemic injustice, empower individuals, and promote healing and resistance. And we are going to hear two of these projects now, and I'd like to welcome you to the stage, Brielle Mariucci.
Is this on? Can you hear my heart racing? At Oneness is a project that explores interventions for restoring community autonomy and well-being in neighborhoods that experience the negative impacts of mass incarceration. Over the last 4 months, I have been partnering with community leaders in East New York seeking to address public safety by increasing community well-being. Before we begin, I wanted to share this quote by a respected leader, facilitator, and educator of restorative justice, Kay Pranis. I believe this quote perfectly encapsulates the relationship between crime prevention and community building. A crime indicates that a community's sense of mutual understanding and respect is disintegrating. If we don't explore the underlying reasons for this trend or work to turn things around by building positive connections, we miss a rich opportunity for constructive change and leave the community vulnerable to worse breakdowns. East New York is a district in Brooklyn that has the 5th highest rate of incarceration relative to anywhere across the New York City boroughs, and also directly borders Brownsville, which has a disproportionate rate of jail incarcerations overall. That being said, it is well documented that the same neighborhoods most impacted by mass incarceration are also the neighborhoods that lack adequate schools, housing, mental health and substance use treatment, healthcare, and social services. But when communities have the basic resources they need, there is greater public safety. Community well-being and public safety are essentially two sides of the same coin. In East New York, residents are taking action to address food access and insecurity. Consequences of food insecurity are more prevalent in East New York than New York City overall. Beginning last fall, a team of residents from the Boulevard Public Housing have been developing a youth program to address food insecurity. The program connects a group of youth to various orgs and people who are teaching them about health, nutrition, cooking, and overall well-being. Crime is a complex issue stemming from and perpetuating a lower quality of life. In the case of the Boulevard Teams project, improving health outcomes through food education is a contribution to the overall well-being of their neighborhood. Since January, I've been partnering with this resident team to empower their autonomy in this project by facilitating restorative activities to support personal growth and community building. Over the 12 weeks, I hosted conversations to define values and success, explored purpose through facilitated activities, and engaged the residents in reflection and study of the health landscape of food insecurity in East New York. And as a designer and facilitator of community repair through restorative justice and conflict mediation, inquiries and methods that I'm bringing to this work complement this approach to personal, group, and systemic change. But what is restorative justice? It's a systemic alternative to incarceration that rejects responses of punishment. Similarly, it is an alternative to suspensions in schools. It is a tool for community building, and it's also a worldview that encourages community convening and collaboration when friction arises between community members. As you can see, restorative justice reflects a lot of the core principles of the projects that are happening, such as in East New York. And why am I bringing restorative justice into this? Well, through my own experiences as both a participant and facilitator of restorative practices, I have witnessed and facilitated profound reconciliation. I have felt closeness with strangers, and I've also sat in community circles with formerly incarcerated folks and currently incarcerated folks to talk about what accountability really means. Through this thesis project, I wanted to understand ways that the values of these restorative practices could extend beyond their typical use case. In this project, food insecurity is the focus. However, this framework is meant to be applied to any project seeking to cultivate community well-being. Restorative justice is more than just an alternative to incarceration and suspension. Restorative justice is a set of values and practices that can shape broader culture. So how might we adapt restorative practices to aid in personal and community growth in neighborhoods experiencing disproportionate rates of incarceration? Some things I tried looked like this. When facilitating an activity about the root problems of food insecurity in East New York, I used restorative questions traditionally used for conflict circles. Asking about what may be preventing the community from moving towards a healthier future prompted a conversation about barriers, both personal, such as food heritage, and access, which is obviously systemic. Conversations like this help to understand where accountability needs to take place and can help shape research and scoping in earlier phases of projects. We also discussed how we can move towards healing and a healthier future. After showing the team health data of East New York collected by the Department of Health, the team vehemently questioned this data because it didn't reflect their reality. Moments like this underscore the importance of including and supporting communities in matters in research that is meant to represent them. Other activities that I facilitated brought other values of restorative justice to life. Most directly, I held circles which allowed for equitable story sharing and hosted a listening and empathy skill building workshop using my experience and working relationship with the New York Peace Institute and SEEDS Community Resolution Center. Personal development in support of healthy relationships with both self and others cultivates community autonomy. By developing skills learned through restorative practices, communities experiencing the impacts of policing can take more ownership of the well-being and safety of their communities. My first intervention was going to be to just train the residents in circle keeping. However, the way I went about this, making that decision for them instead of deciding together, did not align with the values of this work or what I had intended on teaching. As Karen mentioned earlier, there was reasonable skepticism about my intentions here. I was held accountable, and I was offered an opportunity to begin again with this team. That experience created a lot of meaning for me in this project because it precisely highlighted the importance of these skills and practices in keeping teams and communities connected during their efforts of social change, even when conflict arises. As we've discussed, both community well-being and public safety require addressing many different facets of social life. Integrating restorative practices offer new ways of confronting the social issue and strengthen the threads that connect people who are working to address root problems of crime and harm. In my evaluations, I discovered that the activities directly drawn from a restorative tradition, such as circles, addressing root problems, and fostering listening and empathy skills, were the most effective for my team. In our circle about defining success and sharing stories, one woman spoke about her experience being a community participant in a past program that the East New York team had designed. She was inspired by this, and she decided to join the team and brought her teenage daughter along with her. Amongst many other ideas we shared, future involvement of community members could be used as a metric of success for this program. This demonstrated that circles have the capability to benefit the technical aspects of these projects along with the community building parts. So what am I offering? At Oneness is a program framework that can be used and reused in many different spaces and projects. To extend this work and make it accessible to others to utilize and facilitate, I have created a platform for research, resources, and guides to share with my partner organization, Neighborhood Safety Initiative, which hosts this resident project along with 15 other resident teams across the boroughs, addressing other facets of community well-being to increase public safety. Here you can find guides for hosting circles, facilitating team reflections, and even handouts for de-escalation. These tools may be used by any community leaders seeking to address root problems of social issues through healing-centered methods. To assist in the implementation, I designed a roadmap based on the Neighborhood Safety Initiative project cycle to recommend times for these interventions and activities to take place. For example, the activity about engaging with root problems would best be done earlier in the project as the direction had been chosen by the teams. Along with materials for additional programming, the values of restorative justice give us new ways of measuring impact. Monitoring personal and interpersonal growth is foundational for driving systemic change towards healthier, more autonomous communities. My vision is for these metrics to be foundational to any and all community-led initiatives and our own personal growth. This reflection is from one of my team members, Tyshawn. I believe it perfectly represents our collective desire to do better for one another and witness the fruits of that loving labor. This resonates with me a lot as a host of this experience and also as a researcher, designer, and leader influenced by restorative traditions and values. Supporting historically silenced communities in shaping their own lives realigns society with values that empower rather than disenfranchise and connects us rather than isolates us. When we use restorative justice to frame this work and influence the way we go about this change, we can see how deeply related the personal is with our culture and with the systems that shape our lives. Frameworks and theories aside, my message is simple, that social change requires each one of us together. Thank you to everyone who is here, to the faculty, my friends and family who showed up, and to my amazing, wonderful, beautiful classmates. Up next, we have the beautiful, magic, gorgeous Joy Roach.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna make it to the other side so that maybe your necks can stretch a different way. Change it up a little bit. All righty. You guys ready? Yeah! I'm ready. All right, so I have forgotten a useful tool that I need. How will I progress my slides? I don't know. Thank you very much. All right, let's get started. Alrighty, so I worked on a project called Todo sobre las chicas. It means all about the girls. So what is girlhood? What does it mean to be a girl? What does it mean to have purpose and passions and to express yourself freely? These are the things I asked while I thought about how I believe that every girl deserves a chance at a full life. Unfortunately, as political uprisings and economic turmoil has been happening all around the world, which is very prevalent as we see today, not every girl has this chance. With this, I've partnered with an organization in Central America that helps girls really transition out of the harmful and abusive situations that they're going through inside their homes. Just for context, they really exist within a machismo society that has a lot of different economic stressors that lead to prevailing violence in the home, and really girls are really at the foot of the care that they need, which they're not being able to receive. Also, the organizations that exist to be able to care and help them throughout these situations are going through dire times. As these political uprisings are happening, many times they are either being shut down or they're having to restructure their organization, which in turn makes the girls have to be sent back home. With the organization that I worked with, this is exactly what was happening. And with this, the girls are returning back to the places that harmed them. So this is where it all began. I started to ask, what are the things in healing and restoration that can exist as these girls transition? What are the things that help them during the midst of uncertainty? With this, I knew that as a social designer and a responsible one at that, I needed to go into the community. It was extremely important that I was there with them and I truly understood the situation. So I wanted to understand how the political discourse really affected them transitioning back to those places, how it really affected their daily lives. I also wanted to know the things in their community and in their culture that inspired them every single day and kept them going, honestly. The last thing was that I wanted to spend quality time with them because number one, I needed to build trust. As I built trust, I needed to also co-create with them. It wasn't my idea, but it was a solution for them, by them. So with this, I hit the ground running, and I went to Central America. I played games with them at night. I would go to different events with them. We had dinners that we went out to. And we even had a cooking competition based off of their favorite show, Top Chef. I got to be a judge, and I'll just say that there were two teams, and they both won. So with this, they also invited me into their homes. I needed to understand the places that they were going back to, as they were supported in the organizations that really helped them through this. They had access to clean water. They had access to a bed every night. They had access to a safe environment. And the environments that they took me into were not that reality. So as I spent time with them, I was able to learn about the things that were going on in their homes and really the new ways that they were reintegrating back into living. I was also able to take some little handmade booklets that helped them to figure out what they were feeling in the moment, what were their emotions, but I also wanted to understand what were some of their hopes and dreams during the time. Through this, they started getting extremely vulnerable with me as they started opening up about the things that they were feeling, the things that they hadn't really been able to express. Two of my favorite, the first one is, my heart is different now. And the second is, learn to attach your heart and your brain. And these are the two things that really started to drive the innovation where we could see what needs to happen after this. So with this, I started to begin to understand that their biggest concern was emotional support throughout this time as they were making this transition, but also their biggest anchor was their faith. With this community being a deep-rooted Christian community, I knew that I wanted to bring that in because it was a part of their identity. As I continue, I just want to recognize that Christianity can sometimes be very complicated. It has a very sometimes harmful past for people. In history, we've seen how it's been used to colonize and to harm people. And I just want to say that if in any way this faith has been really weaponized against you personally, I apologize from my community to yours. I also have seen how it's been used to restore and to build up from the inside out, how people have been able to transform and really been able to find themselves through it. And that's exactly what this community wanted, so that's what I helped and supported them in. In my own personal beliefs, I've stolen this quote from my father, who I've heard say so many times, but so much of who we become as adults stems from our childhood. And this happens unconsciously or consciously. So with this, we partnered together and we created the Haven Effect, a 3-part innovation that uses hope, restoration, and communing together to really transition through hard and unexpected times. I started to ask, what would it look like to inspire hope? So with this, I partnered with some local businesswomen in the area that have been through very similar home situations to these girls. as they transition out, they've beat the odds. And this is something that many of the girls haven't been able to see, but that would inspire them. As I partnered with them and brought the two communities together, we started finding that there were similar themes. Things like the ebbs and flows of life, the things like care after transition. And in many ways, there wasn't a physical thing to represent the intangible change that was happening internally. With this, we decided to make bracelets that represent these 6 parts of the journey, so that it would act as a physical reminder for the non-tangible parts that they've been able to experience inwardly. After that, we really wanted to look at what are some tools that they could really use in their day-to-day lives. So we started by discovering more of self through experiential prayer, contemplation, and exploring their purpose. From here, we culminated a series of guides that use different tools like the Examine, the Lectino Divina, and a variety of others that they could integrate into their daily lives. These are things that in the moment, when they're going through a difficult time or when they're really being oppressed, they can use these tools as a source of inspiration. One is called Palms Up, Palms Down, where in the moment they're able to really release some of the fears that they're having and guide themselves to find strength in the moment. These are the things that continue to carry them through each and every day. The last part that we worked on was the communing. To commune is powerful, and also to raise your voice is extremely powerful. But many times when you've gone through abuse in difficult situations, the power of voice is stripped away from you. Through this, we created a variety of retreats that happen quarterly in this community where they're able to see how they can raise their voice and be able to share their thoughts and opinions. This is them having their first retreat during Semana Santa in the community, really. So as I progress on with this project, it doesn't end here. I want to be able to take the Haven effect into many communities because the reality is that their story is far from few. Many girls exist in a situation that is not preferable, and the Haven effect has the power to inspire, to help girls commune, and to restore. So as I conclude today, in the grander scheme of things, thank you guys so much for coming out to support all of us. But I believe that each and every one of us have the ability to inspire and to impact those that are around us. Maybe it doesn't take being able to go across international waters. Maybe it's something just right outside your own front door. So thank you very much, and I welcome Kara, our thesis advisor.
Hello. I'm Kara Meyer, a thesis advisor here who has learned so much from each of you, so much. It's a joy for all of us. Learning from these students because these students have dove fearlessly into research around their topics with care and compassion and drive to make the change where they see it as possible. This next group of projects, This next group of projects of presenters demonstrate a blending of disciplines, combining elements of art, technology, psychology, public health, and activism. This interdisciplinary approach allows for innovative solutions to complex challenges, such as using AI and art therapy to support mental health, or utilizing storytelling and drama to promote social reintegration. And with that, I'd like to welcome our first student, Maggie Wong.
Hi, my name is Maggie, and this is me in 4th grade. When I had just moved from Hong Kong to Texas, I was wide-eyed, acclimating to a culture I was brand new to. And this is Miss Shah, my 4th grade teacher who advocated for me when I needed extra support, when I felt lost, disconnected, and inadequate to master class assignments like in American history. She was an anchor in a time of change, and her dedication to all our success became an inspiration for me to be an advocate for children's education, especially for those who find themselves in a time of transition. 20 years later, I unexpectedly walked into a meeting and reconnected with her. She was now a principal and the board chair of the education department within the immigrant-centered nonprofit where I worked. She was unapologetic still in her advocacy for children's well-being, and it was something that she had really instilled in me deeply through her care. So when an influx of asylum seekers in New York began surfacing on the news, I couldn't help but think about the families with children who braced themselves for the long journey as they fled political, social turmoil in their home countries and traveled here. Today, over 180,000 of these individuals pass through New York City. Families and children represent 78% of the asylum-seeking population in New York City's funded shelters. These numbers cumulated to over 36,000 students who have enrolled in public school since September of 2022. While integrating immigrants and refugee students isn't new to New York, the rapidly changing landscape among government policies affecting asylum seekers made their lives quite uncertain. Particularly, children may go through education disruption, adjustment to new environments, and legal vulnerabilities that cause housing and food insecurity. For children, schools can be a place of stability. However, perhaps those schools may be too overwhelmed themselves and have not received the help they needed in a time of abrupt change. Carrying the question, how has the enrollment of asylum-seeking students impacted schools? I partnered with PS 130 in Manhattan, a pre-K to 5th grade school led by Principal Fong and 2 assistant principals who graciously showed me the wonderful world of elementary education. It's located in the heart of Manhattan's Chinatown, near a temporary shelter just a few blocks away. The school has a robust art program and is equipped to serve its local community through bilingual programs that offer instructional support in the Chinese language. In January 2023, within a week's time, more than 50 asylum-seeking families with young children knocked on the doors of PS 130 to be enrolled. Educators rose to the occasion to provide safe spaces within their schools as they set up welcome rooms and adapted their roles in response. Currently, the school has about 585 students, with 56 students from asylum-seeking families who predominantly speak Spanish. While almost half the teachers are certified to instruct English as a new language, the 3 Spanish-speaking teachers had to take on a significant amount of responsibility to communicate with families and children. From talking with teachers and surveys, teachers rated below average when asked if they felt equipped or had access to relevant resources to support these students. Teachers felt caught in between wanting to know these students more to help them, especially for those who were behind up to 4 grade levels and teaching the rest of their class. Schools were also affected by lack of funding to hire staff for English learners, or just struggled to find bilingual teachers due to shortages. Fostering a school environment that is equitable needed a different approach. Around the same time, I started volunteering at the school's after-school program, designated for kindergarteners and 1st graders from asylum-seeking families, where I taught art lessons alongside 2 teachers. I think about them now as they're at their last after-school class of the semester as I speak. Students engaged with new vocabulary, with hands-on activities, with enthusiasm as it gave them opportunities for self-expression and movement. They especially enjoyed correcting our Spanish. We were connecting because of our language barriers. This small group setting enabled us to catch the nuances in our interaction, deepening understanding and trust between each other. While there are challenges, there was also deep joy. It was an invaluable time of discovering the students' strengths and interests little by little each week, while we incorporated those in future lessons. One of the key insights was realizing how the social emotional well-being of students is intricately tied to their ability to learn and connect with others, affecting their confidence and sense of identity. Teachers wanted specialized support that addressed the students' relational, educational, and social-emotional needs, like resources to help build friendships, materials in native language to build content, and opportunities to lift these students out of hiding behind language barriers. So I wondered, what tools can help address these learning focuses in school? Taking what I've learned from after-school program, I held a lesson with a class of 8 students, where a Spanish-speaking student is integrated with general students. We read an illustrated book called Platanos Are Love by Alyssa Reynoso Morris that highlights Latin American culture through food and family legacy. The text interweaved Spanish and English, just as a conversation between multiple generations might have it. By gamifying the literacy portion, students raced to identify words to complete a sight words rainbow. The lesson completed with an art activity that tied back to the story, adapting a food that reminded them of home into the book's title. From rice to pasta to papas fritas, each student showcased what reminded them of family love. The success and engagement of this activity opened up the potential for scaling up such similar lessons. I began piling a list of books that reflected children's various cultures, sought recommendations from children's bookstores, and incorporated other elements that would help support a learning environment where all students felt seen and motivated to contribute, all of which culminated to The Language of Us, a student book-based art initiative that supports asylum seeker students with academic and social emotional support through guided lessons and activities that meet grade standards and address the multifaceted aspects of childhood development. The vision is to bring diverse children's book stories to life while providing hands-on art projects where students can engage with their own lived experience. Lessons can be nested in an existing after-school program or used as lesson plan in the class. By providing a flexible structure, teachers can save time planning, focus on observing progress, and build deeper relationships with children. Children's books make a great anchor for curriculum, not only due to its vibrant colors and lyrical writing, but a 2020 study revealed that the use of narratives in teaching foreign languages can actually lower the levels of anxiety, allowing students to take risk in language classes thanks to the relaxing learning environment generated by storytelling. In addition, children's books expose young readers from 500 to 1,000 words between ages 4 to 8, providing content for language comprehension and word recognition. Utilizing children's books as a teaching material is also a way to show solidarity by drawing attention to diverse cultures, diffusing the fear of the unknown by fostering curiosity, and giving students the opportunity to take ownership of their narrative. This resource includes an online index of diverse children's books that have been categorized for an efficient navigation, lesson plans with worksheets and printables that cover a semester-long program as needed, with themes focused on their sense of self, family, community, awareness of nature and animals, and the world. Additional materials include affirmation cards, rewards, and just to keep the students encouraged in their learning. We piloted Unit 1 and focused on the importance of their unique names. After book reading, we asked these students to write their name prominently on a poster, enabling us to observe their writing skills. The session concluded with an art project using pressed flowers to strengthen the letter comprehension. This lesson led to discussions about their nicknames that were given by their families, where we had a chance to affirm their identity and uniqueness. I felt immense gratitude to be a part of this foundational learning moment, as we persisted to bridge gaps in their interrupted education. Somewhere between the mess-up and cleanups, we are already seeing these students grow in confidence in who they are and in their abilities. Providing consistent opportunities has been the key to fostering growth, enabling these students to flourish. Centered on joy, celebration, and connection, all the content in The Language of Us encourage inquiry, problem solving, and collaborative actions by drawing out identity, creativity, and peer interactions. The idea is that using storytelling and art with the support of educators, counselors, children's literature professionals, and volunteers as a tool for academic and social emotional learning would increase small group instructions, meaningful interactions between teachers and students that unveils and celebrate their identity, would give insight to build specialized resources for targeted learning, and add to teachers' joy and fulfillment in teaching, which would lead to more inclusive and learning spaces within schools. The future of this initiative is to expand the online database of lessons and to make it more accessible to educators widely. It is also to work with community members and illustrators to create teachers' briefings that provide a better understanding of personal anecdotes of students' context and culture. Despite ongoing challenges, teachers have found moments that motivated them deeply as they shared how the students have changed their worldview, renewed their joy in their work, witnessed the power of acceptance, and inspired new ways to make learning more engaging. It is my hope that the language of us can show us how the function of art is to do more than tell it like it is, but to imagine what is possible. Thank you. And now let's welcome Will and Xing.
Thank you. That was lovely, Maggie. Hi, thank you for joining us today. First, allow me to introduce my thesis partner, Xing Yang. She's both a facilitator and a designer. With a background in business and sociology, her mission is to address social challenges by leveraging the synergies between commerce and art.
Thanks, Will. Will is a designer specializing in emerging technologies with a background as an analyst and a project manager. He is passionate about the interplay between technology and society, promoting equity and empower others.
And we are excited to tell you about Project CAN, supporting Chinese American nurses through their burnout challenges. Last October, we organized the Nursing Narrative, an art exhibition created in collaboration with New York Chinese American artists and Chinese American nurses with the goal of helping nurses express burnout, facilitate connections, and raise awareness about the challenges faced by our nursing community.
The art exhibition featured diverse artwork, workshops, and a nursing lecture for flourishing locals and high school students. It gained coverage from several local media outlets. Nurses who visit the exhibition said they have never imagined their story could be showcased in this form.
So what is nurse burnout? Let's be honest, sure, you might have heard about this issue, but it rarely receives the attention it deserves, let alone the burnout issue specifically faced by Chinese American nurses. Let's look at some numbers first. The US nurse burnout rate seen in the research today is around 62%. An uncommon fact is that 1 in 5 nurses quits every year, and this will lead to a shortage of 500,000 nurses by 2025, placing a greater demand on the remaining nurses and creating a never-ending negative cycle. Chinese American nurses face even greater challenges. Asian hate has been on the rise as we saw during the pandemic. They also face more workplace discrimination and handle additional struggles like language translation and the lack of culturally specific care. Chinese American health condition is also the lowest among New York's API community, heightening the needs for this group.
Chinese American nurses are a vital link in Chinese American community. By carrying this group, we aim to uplift the entire Chinese American community. We partner with the Chinese American Nurse Association, CANA, a non-profit organization established in 1993 by 3 Chinese American nurses in New York City, which focused on fostering a professional network and advocacy to enhance community healthcare service.
During our year-long collaboration, we began to deeply exploring the issue of nurse burnout. For quite some time, we struggled to find the solution. We're getting bogged down in our analysis when unexpectedly a quote from a young nurse in our interview record shook us. We are not angels, we are human. These 7 words speak volumes. They made us realize that nurses lack a platform to voice their concerns, and perhaps giving them a voice can make a difference.
That inspiration led us to use art to facilitate connection between Chinese American nurses and characters, raising public awareness through initiatives like Nursing Narrative Art Exhibition.
While the art exhibition was more successful than we imagined, we found that this approach was limited by its short-term focus and was externally approached. What we need are long-term, self-sustaining solutions that empowers the community from within. So what did we do next, Shane?
we return to our analysis for new insights. Our comprehensive study on burnout among Chinese American nurses has revealed that the causes are complex and multifaceted.
So primarily burnout factors such as work-related burdens trigger secondary burnout factors, which are psychological concerns like insufficient recognition and lack of community support. These primary and secondary factors interact and reinforce each other, forming a detrimental cycle that we call the doom loop of burnout. These factors create an intriguing relationship in terms of urgency and how quickly to address them. So instead of looking for the solution, multiple solutions are needed. That inspires us to keep going. So we developed two approaches in collaboration with the Chinese American nurses.
On an individual level, we use art as a transformative tool for personal growth.
And secondly, on a collective scale, we enhance their strengths through innovative technology. First, we have art in caring. Utilizing theatrical healing to address burnout among Chinese American nurses enhances their inner strengths and fosters long-term resilience.
During the Nursing Narrative Art exhibition, we met members of the NYU Teach School Mandarin Drama Club who introduced us to theatrical healing. We found it an effective approach to address burnout among Chinese American nurses.
So theatrical healing focuses on individual stories and experience rather than acting, using drama techniques to provide psychological comfort and address complex emotions. This can alleviate burnout often missed in traditional mental care.
We hosted 3 theatrical healing workshops with Chinese American nurses, managing stress and emotional tension through role-playing, storytelling, and group interaction. During the workshops, one nurse shared story of burnout from their workday, while other participants acted out various tasks from those stories, expressing their understanding of the nurse's inner thoughts. The storyteller stepped back to watch their own narrative as an observer.
Afterward, we sat down with the nurses who were moved to see their emotions expressed through performance, feeling understood, and more open. Stepping back helped them rediscover their motivation.
Those crumpled papers were arranged by participants before the theatrical healing workshop. The workshop smoothed out many of their emotional wrinkles. Theatrical healing demonstrates its effectiveness for managing personal mental health. However, its current form may not be suitable for every Chinese American nurse. Next, we will continue to enhance the workshop's outcome and accessibility for a broader reach.
And speaking of accessible and timely solutions, this is our second intervention. But before that, I would like to introduce you to Teresa, the chair of Keynote. Through our collaboration with the nurse community, we discovered that most communication and networking depend on Teresa. Despite her best effort to help everyone, her capacity is limited, which can lead to nurses struggling to access community support and share resources efficiently. The resulting stresses are precisely what cause burnout.
Recognizing this, we saw the potential for technology to alleviate Teresa's burden and tackle nurse burnout by enhancing community connection and facilitating support.
Introducing technology in caring. Our second intervention is called Our second intervention is called GPT-Can, which is a customized natural language processing model adapted from OpenAI's GPT. This will be specifically tailored for Chinese American nurses. To help you understand, OpenAI's GPT is AI that generates human-like text, while natural language processing, NLP, helps computers understand and process human language. GPT-Can is an AI model that adapts GPT and NLP for Chinese American nurses. Essentially, GPT-Can is a database that actively processes the information and knowledge shared within the community. It facilitates the flow of information and fosters interpersonal relationships among Chinese American nurses through both passive and active interactions. Currently, GPT can host data from Keynote group chats and members' personal information. As more data is gathered, it will expand to include timely job opportunities, upcoming events, and the latest industry updates. Now, GPT-CAN will be integrated into social platforms like WeChat and WhatsApp for better accessibility, enabling it to automatically update and facilitate social connections.
Oh, awesome. It's much like having your own Teresa.
That's right. So ultimately, GPT-CAN has the potential to transform communication within the Chinese American nurses community, from basic exchanges to a comprehensive platform for seamless knowledge sharing, thereby benefiting the entire community.
Feedback from our partner about GPT-CAN has been positive, although its adoption still presents technological and usability challenge. We will continue to refine it with the nurses. Addressing the burnout issue faced by Chinese American nurses is crucial. Burnout affects everyone. It's a personal struggle and a broader community issue.
So, as we've seen with Project CAN, the challenges we faced are complex but not insurmountable. With creative thinking, doing, and stepping beyond traditional boundaries, we can find alternative solutions.
So let's not just care for our community.
Let's innovate, uplift, and most importantly, let's ensure no one, especially those who care for us, is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now let's welcome Bhavya, last but not least.
Hello, everyone. Hello, gorgeous, gorgeous people. I am filled with so much inspiration after hearing to my wonderful batchmates, and I'm filled with so much gratitude that you guys showed up for us. Thank you for coming. And today, I'm going to be taking you on a journey with me to talk about Begumpura, a land with no sorrows. I grew up hearing and listening about stories of Begumpura, a land with no caste, a land with no class, a land with no taxes, a land where no one owns any property. And I heard these stories through my grandmother as my bedtime stories. And as I was young, I believed that Begumpura does exist. And I thought I can eventually move on to Begumpura, a land with no sorrows at some time. Eventually, as I grew, I realized that I was deceived. I grew up listening to these stories in the north of India. I come from Haryana, a land dominated by agriculture, a land dominated by patriarchy. I am a ceramicist turned into a social designer, and before I joined DSI, I worked with crafts community in Haryana. I worked with them during pandemic, and during that time, I was not only exposed to caste-based hierarchy, but also gender-based hierarchy. Now, here in America, people might wonder what caste really is. And so the caste originates from the Hindu mythology that shares that the being, the Lord, the Brahma, gave birth to different parts, gave birth through different parts of his body to different people. So the people born from his head are the Brahmins or the priests. People born from his arms are the warriors and rulers. Vaishyas are the farmers, traders, or merchants. Shudras are the laborers. Dalits are the outcasts of society. We might think that this is illogical right now. How can people be born from someone's head or leg? But this holds true in India, and people still believe in caste system. Dalit literally means broken. And as I was moving from India to America, I thought, I'm moving away from the caste apartheid. I am moving to the land of the free, and this might be my Begumpura, the land of the free. But soon, after I landed, I was hit with the realization that caste still exists here. And it is even more complex because it intersects with race and many more other oppressive systems. So, but it was only until that I joined DSI and I found a community of people who empowered me through different discussions and dialogue. So I started researching on what caste is in diaspora. So to my research, I found out that BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, people of color, are often clubbed together in the USA. And the diversity in the diaspora is often overlooked. There is a monolithic representation in the identity of South Asians that is usually led by the historically caste-privileged people. As I was also talking to the Dalit diaspora, or the historically oppressed diaspora in the New York or USA, I heard people say things that erasure is something that they're very used to. I mean, I felt heartbroken. How can somebody be used to erasure of their culture and their identity? Someone said that it becomes difficult to disclose their caste as a Dalit and still manage to keep their business and networks alive here in New York. And it all started from a case in Cisco in 2022, when a Dalit engineer filed a case for caste-based discrimination only to find out that there was no laws or legislation to protect him here in the US. And throughout these interviews, I also learned that the trauma is internalized. The trauma is getting passed on from generation to generation. So I might not have experienced something directly, but the body still remembers what my ancestors experienced. So in simple words, we might hold trauma for things that we might not have language to explain. And this is internalized trauma. So I wondered, how might we create communities of embodied healing with people affected by the caste system here in USA, specifically the caste-based violence, regaining our autonomy? And as I was thinking and pondering about this question, I was fortunate to find Andrew. Andrew is the founder of Moving Rasa, which is a body movement-based healing practice that discovers the relationship with self, others, environment through body movement practices. This is Andrew on the left. These are my dear friends that I found through Moving Rasa family. We were drawing, we were playing, we were moving together. And as I was in a community for 1 year with Moving Rasa family, it helped to come in terms with my own identity. I was moving with people who were activists, who were community organizers, who were abolitionists, and a part of me healed. A part of me healed that I did not even have language to explain. So I thought, oh, wow, what a wonderful thing. I'll take this to my South Asian community and share it with them. And I also realized that healing is different from everyone. And I asked with my community, like, what does healing mean to them? Someone said they just wanted to lose their fear of being outed. Someone said they wanted to able to host discussions around caste, or they fear that their children might experience similar discrimination. Since the topic is so layered and nuanced, I thought maybe awareness about the caste system as a humanitarian crisis is important. Acknowledging the system that causes it and regaining our power and autonomy. I thought, yay, I cracked it. So to address these three gaps, I came up with these three prototypes, which was a book club, culturally specific Moving Rasa workshops with Andrew, or even community gatherings, which were screening or potluck dinners. I thought it could be a three-way intervention. And soon, I realized it did not work as I think it would, because for somatic therapy or for moving therapy, therapy and somatics both are stigmatized words in South Asian community. No one wants to move or even engage in therapy. Supporting each other is a big ask and a big give for anyone. And I also realized that holistic discussions need to happen before we can engage in any kind of body movement. So what's the gap? I wondered, what's the gap? The gap is, how can we heal through body movement when we are not even ready to talk about this? We need to talk about it, acknowledge it, we need to build our resilience and then engage in body movement-based practices. So I found Vandana Jairam, who's my collaborator and co-designer in this thesis, and we thought we might create a community of young adults, a safe space, inspired from the Moving Rasa frameworks, but specifically for South Asians community. A safe space, but it needs to be brave because we need to talk about heavy things that we generally don't talk about. So I came up with courageous conversations on caste with Vandana Jairam. But the turnout was very little because no one wants to have courageous conversations on caste. So instead of it being CCC as Courageous Conversations on Caste, we flipped it to Creative Chai Chronicles. Now, you might ask, why Creative Chai Chronicles? Creative because we narrowed it down. We thought we needed grounding activities like writing, drawing, moving, any form of expression. Chai, because South Asians love chai. We wanted to make that a homely feeling. Amidst all these uncomfortable situations, there needs to be something that's more grounding. That is chai. Chronicles, because it's a space for sharing stories and lived experiences. Hence, CCC, from Courageous Conversations on Caste to Creative Chai Chronicles, a reflective gathering for South Asians. And we started with the theme of belonging. Over the course of last 3 months, we did five gatherings. There were almost 42 attendees from early 20s to late 70s, from a yellow cab taxi driver with Indian Guyanese ancestry to a VP of a fintech firm. We started the theme of belonging first because, as you know, irrespective of communities, belonging is something that we long for here in US. We just want to be belonged. And the next gathering was love, identity, and everything in between. From We Love Shah Rukh Khan. We have a very strong inclination toward the rom-coms in Bollywood culture. But what is unknown is that caste system thrives on endogamy. People marry within communities, and we wanted to check if the community is aware that caste is a matter or a factor when they choose their life partner or not. But instead of directly framing it, we said, oh, let's just talk about love and identity and how it affects us. And people did show up. We talked about how, if I were to select a life partner, what would my life partner would look like as compared if my parents were to choose a life partner for me, what would they choose? What are the similarities and dissimilarities? What important criteria are there? And we realized people use proxies. Someone mentioned that, oh, I would want to marry someone who's from a good, educated, respectable family, but who is actually respected in India, or who actually has the right to education, or who gets the good job. We uncovered all these proxies without actually dealing with it, because as facilitators, we were also slowly building our resilience. The third in the series was flavors of identity. There is a narrative in India that talks that vegetarian food is pure because it's considered by historically caste-privileged people, whereas non-vegetarian food is impure as it is consumed by historically oppressed people. And this resides in the notion that historically caste-oppressed people are impure or the secondary class. And we wanted to check the mindset of South Asians and how they deal with this, or are they even aware about this? So we used the frame of nostalgia. We asked them, what does their kitchen look like right now versus what was their kitchen like when they were young? Who was in their kitchen? Who made meals for them? Who cooks for them? What ingredients do they use? Or do they even use meat or not? And people said interesting things. And we moved this frame of nostalgia to inquiry. We asked them if there was any house help available. What were the working conditions of the house help? If they know what were the cost of the house help. If meat was cooked, why was it cooked? If meat was not cooked, why was it not cooked? And through that, we were able to discuss a range of topics from gender-based discrimination to caste-based, and how space plays an important role. The last in the series was honoring the Dalit History Month. All of this was happening in April, and April is Dalit History Month. We wanted to celebrate our culture, we wanted to celebrate the Dalits' resilience, but we also wanted to call for solidarity. Because this work can't be only done by people who are historically oppressed, but we need collective voices. So we hosted this, shared history and divergent experiences. Caste apartheid is not only the history of Dalit people or the historically oppressed people. It is history of all the people involved in it, with or without directly being engaged in any form of discrimination. It is a shared history for South Asians. So again, since it's a sensitive topic, we said, if caste was a taste, what would it taste like? If caste was a sound, what would the sound be? If caste was a texture, what would it be? And people, again, had interesting responses. Someone said, for sound, it's almost like a siren from a textile mill. It's disturbing and annoying in the beginning, but eventually you get used to it. For the second thing, for food, someone said it looks like a delicious soup, and you want to taste it, but as soon as you taste it, it's sour, it's bitter, and addictive. You will die of slow burn. And you can also realize through these responses if somebody might be historically caste privileged or historically oppressed, because to somebody who's historically oppressed, they will not look at the soup as delicious. And for textures, obviously, it was nuanced. It had many layers. So we talked about this, and as we were talking about this, we were also on the side thinking about what could be the other ways of communication that the community already knows. Since somatic therapy was a thing I wanted to try, but it did not work, so what are the other mediums? And community directed me to the traditional folk art and the narrative-based art forms. South Asia has a rich culture of folk art and narrative-based art forms, and you'll see how. As I was talking to community, I also realized that healing is essential to liberation. And maybe we don't need to bring anything new that's not known to the culture. Maybe there are already things existent in the culture like music, dance, art, yoga. There are already body movement-based practices. That could be the next step. And when I started my journey, I was a dancer. I was teaching them dance. I was teaching Bhangra, which is usually a male-dominated dance form, but I thought, let's try, let's do it, let's teach the community, let's do it together. So the next step would be doing and dancing together. And as I mentioned, I come from Haryana. This is Haryanvi Ras. It is a traditional folk art form. And as we were engaging in all these body movement-based practices, someone mentioned that they think that their joy, their joyful existence is resistance. And it struck me. It struck me that since historically, oppressed communities have been living in fear, that has been installed in them through politics of fear and anger, as Karen was mentioning. It's only meaningful that even our existence in joy is a form of resistance. So what's next for me? I am always rooted in the community. I'm always dancing, moving. I'm always working on ceramics. But I would like to celebrate this notion of joy being the existence, joy in our existence being our form of resistance, and I would like to continue doing the work that I'm still doing. And I would like to sum up all of this by saying that history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. This is said by Maya Angelou, who's my inspiration. But before I knew who Maya Angelou was, I knew these people. My mother, my grandfather, and my grandmother. My grandmother passed, so I'm dedicating all of my work, all of my thesis to her, because if she wasn't here, I wouldn't be here in front of you talking about all of this work. That's my mother. I would also like to take a moment to thank Andrew for being present here today, for his unconditional support throughout, for teaching me what questions and the art of curiosity is, for Mikhail, who's also here in the audience, to my friend Asta, who has always supported me through thick and thin. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Raktim for cheering me on the days that I felt low, especially my DSI family, Mia, my batchmates, Sahar, all the thesis advisors, Laura, John, Melissa, and everyone, the whole DSI family. I'm nervous, I'm missing out on a few names. But everyone, I'm so grateful that you are here and present today. I'm filled with gratitude. Thank you, and with that, I sign off.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Class of 2024, you did it. It happens. You're phenomenal. Now don't stop. You came from all over New York City, filled with unknown possibilities, from India, South Korea, Mexico, China, the West Coast, even New Jersey can feel a little far away. New Jersey's in the house. You embrace the issues that are required for us, that we need to confront, the uncertainties, the conflict, with protest and change, to continue to shift conditions, change the rules, expose gaps, and highlight where we need to put more energy and attention now for our futures. You are vulnerable and brave, and you demonstrated that tonight, each one of you. Your positionality, your values center communities and amplify the voices that need to be heard. You have prototyped and grown your collaborations, your relationships in proximity. You're here. You did it. Take a deep breath. You made space for others to imagine, and we all imagined here today. In gardens, in classrooms, kitchens, community centers, art galleries, and libraries, and even in that weird metaverse. Slowly turning and shifting the facets of what it means to innovate and create engagement, behavior change, action, intergenerational change, and communities. It might take some time and some sleep, but we encourage you, please keep these inquiries going. What it means to be authentic and curious, resilient, full of love, full of commitment. Teach and share what you have learned. You started it here on this stage, and I think we all expect you to keep pushing the boundaries and continue to be a lifelong learner. We talked about power at the top of the show, and you all now have a new superpower of collective action to create meaningful change. It's not easy, it takes time, I hope you all see, and it may not work. And so this presentation at the end of the year, we always take as a reminder, there were so many activities and trial and errors and people and time and resources involved in this. And as Karen reminded us in the beginning, it is decades worth, it's life's work. In the words of futurist writer Octavia E. Butler, this has become a mantra at DSI, so I give it to you to pass on. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. You have to know how much you changed this room, how much your voice now lives amongst all of us, and you have changed me in so many ways, each one of you. I was walking through the hallway on my way back from break, and I thought about what it takes to make change. We often focus on the tension, the pain, the grief, the sorrow, the discomfort. We heard some of that today. But reading that quote by marine biologist and author Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, we can also do this in abundance, in love, imagination, and with a willingness to simply tend to the world as best we can. This is the many drops, the oceans, the waves, the ripples that we heard today. You are more holistically balanced after going through this last 2 years. You know how to take care of yourselves and take care of others. You know when to push, and you know when you've been pushed. So that's the humanness that's seeping into every one of us today. And in this time, I also quote Dr. Johnson, who said, "It's time we put something different in its place." So in the interest of time, I just want to leave you with this quote: believe in the power of collective action to create meaningful change. I had a moment, I remember I talked to each and every student that comes to DSI before you get here. And I was just remembering, this is an extraordinary class because each one of you brought back that conversation that we had before you decided DSI was your place, before you knew your cohorts, before you knew who you were. So Ale, Bavia, Brielle, Huayang, Jenny, Joy, Maduri, Maggie, Will, and Xing. Keep showing up again and again. You have each other, you have us, you have this incredible community around you. Participate. To change the tone a little bit, we have a tradition at DSI where the first years who have been mentored and watched you grow and develop send a farewell and well wishes for you as you go off into the world. They take so much care to produce these, and I want to show you this video. Who this first year class knows you better than because they've watched your journeys closely. So let's watch.
Sketchbook.
Ooh, definitely sketchbook. I really like my pen and paper.
Sketchbook.
Full tablet all the way.
Oh, definitely sketchbook. Overrated. Systems thinking.
Overrated. Okay, I have complex thoughts about this. I think it is overrated. However, I think it's a really good framework, and I love frameworks, but frameworks can also be very limiting. And, you know, there's a double diamond for design thinking, and sometimes you don't want to be a diamond and you need to be a scribble. I don't remember what I did yesterday.
Doing shopping every day and enjoy the after tea with my friends.
Walking in the park.
Playing with my dog.
I'm probably at a park, sketching on a picnic blanket under the sun.
Sitting in front of my laptop or reading.
Just walking in the park, jamming to some music.
Doing, at this very moment, probably picnic.
Dancing outdoors in the streets of New York, randomly anywhere.
Driving in her car.
It's Brittany, bitch.
I would tell myself not to try to be a people pleaser and just do what makes you happy.
Keep going, you got this. You have a clear vision of where you want to be. Just never give up.
You won't believe where life will take you 10 or 20 years from now, but remember all those people that helped you along the way.
Never silence yourself.
I would say read more and think more. Doing is important, but thinking is foundation to everything.
It's a love based on giving and receiving, as well as having and sharing. And the love that they give and have is shared and received.
I am the class nerd.
I think me.
I think we're all nerds.
I don't think there's a class nerd.
I think it's Maggie.
Ale.
Joy, yeah.
Bria.
I think LA.
Probably LA.
Mostly myself, but amazingly Will.
Hwa-young.
Will made me laugh the most. Just
I think everyone has made me laugh at some point. I giggle a lot with Bhavya.
Transformative.
Transformation.
Transformative.
Warm.
Adventure.
Transformational.
Transformative.
Narrative, perspective, and storytelling.
I think growth.
Joyfulness.
So this is this group that encapsulates the group that I know so much. Thank you for all that you gave to DSI, each one of you. You contributed, you modeled, you fought for what you believed in, you spoke up, you made us laugh, you danced, we cooked together. So all of what you saw is really, truly a reflection of each of them. Thank you all so much for coming and sharing in this day together. We hope that you have learned something. We hope that you can take something back into the world with you. It takes a village to get to this day. an understatement. It takes a ginormous city like New York City. So gratitude so much to our loved ones here and afar, inspirations and communities around the world. Keep us going. I want to thank Karen Proctor, David Proctor, the DSI Thesis advisors for your modeling and your guidance and your strength and your just getting us all here. Our DSI team, Jen, John, Melissa, the amazing class of 2025, the ones that are coming next year, produced that video. Please come back and watch their show. That's all of our faculty, our alumni who are here today and are doing this change out in the world. I see you, and you are all phenomenal. I wanted to tell you all that you are now a part of an incredible network and community and family of DSI. You have all ends of the world. DSI people are out there, so I hope that you will make those connections and deepen your work. I'd also like to share my appreciation for James Juke, who produced the music today. As you can see, music is very important to us, and it kept us going. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I end like I started with a quote from activist Yuri Kochiyama. As you, class of 2024, enter the world, remember our struggles are not isolated. They are a part of a global fight for justice. Thank you for prioritizing our planet, for prioritizing each other and our futures. And please remember this. It takes all of our effort. I know you will keep making waves, and it gives us all hope. Dream big. Trust yourselves. Go out and practice what you've learned and keep learning together. You got this. All right, please, everybody, please stand up and help me welcome and congratulate the amazing class of 2024. Woo! And thank you, everyone. Please stay in touch with us. Please feel free to talk. The class, we're going to do some class photos, so please stay here. We'll meet on the stage in just a minute. So if family and friends, if you want to go to the lobby, they'll be out in maybe 5 minutes. But thank you so much for all of your love and support today.